Chapter 1481. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly at the upper-level heavenly venerate that was the first to rush over. His figure flickered as he entered the void, completely disappearing from the upper-level heavenly venerate's line of sight. Void power? The upper-level Empyrean was greatly shocked. He never thought that there would be a human who could use the power of the void. Just as he was about to quickly search for Yi Tianyun's figure, a figure had already appeared behind him, brandishing a long spear as it pierced downwards. Pucci. With a single spear strike, another middle-level heavenly venerable was instantly killed. Then, he continued to sweep through the crowd. In just a few short spear strikes, 3 middle-level Empyreans were instantly killed. The 4 middle-level heavenly venerates that had been sent out had been killed almost instantly. This level of sharpness was much stronger than before. This was the might of increasing one's cultivation. After increasing one's base value and activating Berserk damage mode, the damage would be greatly increased. Especially after the increase in his base value, the power of his bloodline would far exceed his previous level. Awesome. Yi Tianyun felt extremely carefree. Even if he could kill a middle-level Empyrean before, it definitely wouldn't be as easy as it was now. With the breakthrough of the Divine Dragon and Phoenix Meridians, its power was even more terrifying. It could be said that he could sweep through all middle-level Empyreans. Although he didn't dare to say that he could defeat high-level Empyreans, middle-level Empyreans didn't feel any pressure at all. He could kill them as easily as chopping vegetables. The group of people was shocked. Why did it feel like he was even stronger than before? The key thing was that he was still giving off the cultivation of a divine monarch. But this Sir God's cultivation seemed to have increased. That's impossible. Is he really a Sir God? Their eyes were about to pop out. Mid-level Empyreans were like cabbages, easily harvested. Unless it was an upper-level Empyrean, and a very powerful one at that, there was no way to easily harvest it. Of course, if it was a speed-type upper-level heavenly venerate, he could also easily kill them. The gap in cultivation was very difficult to make up for. But now, what Yi Tianyun displayed was completely different. He was a divine sovereign, yet he could instantly kill a middle-level heavenly venerable. However, all of this was thanks to his bloodline, as well as his various abilities. When stacked together, it had a different effect. The power of the void allowed him to come and go without a trace. Coupled with his astonishing speed, especially after entering the void, he could directly teleport. Who could catch him? Unless it was someone with an extremely powerful cultivation or someone with an extremely special ability, it was impossible to catch him. Under this sneak attack, killing this middle-level Empyrean was not a difficult matter at all. Like I said, there's no need to worry about little junior brother. Sword Sai Heavenly Venerable and the rest laughed loudly and continued to slash. Compared to Yi Tianyun, they were having a hard time. Their strength was outstanding, but they could not reach the level that Yi Tianyun had reached. Most importantly, his speed was much slower than Yi Tianyun's. Their eyes could barely keep up. His speed was astonishing, and his attack power was formidable. With the combination of these two, he was absolutely invincible. Of course, this was when facing middle-level Empyreans. It would not be so easy for upper-level Empyreans. It was precisely because of this that Yi Tianyun would prioritize dealing with middle-level Empyreans. As for upper-level Empyreans, he could only slowly deal with them. Empyrean Feng Qiu was really shocked from start to finish. No wonder Sword Sai Heavenly Venerable and the rest said not to worry. She thought that they were talking nonsense. Looking at it now, they really did not need to worry. It was simply heaven-defying. Not talking about anything else, there was no pressure at all to protect herself. Coming and going without a trace. No wonder he could come here alone. Turns out that he has some ability. But can a divine sovereign be that strong? It was her first time seeing such a powerful divine sovereign. She had never seen one before. It should be said that powerful divine sovereigns, she had actually seen them before. At most, she could deal with them when facing low-level Empyreans. If she went all out, she might even be able to kill them. Especially when they were careless and ambushed them. This way, the success rate was the highest. But that was barely being able to kill them. Even if she could crush them, she could only crush low-level level Empyrean, or fight with middle-level Empyrean for a while. As for people like Yi Tianyun, who could crush middle-level Empyreans, she really had never seen one before. To be able to do this, he was definitely a super genius, and a peerless kind. This kid. Empyrean Tong Wu was about to go crazy. Another 4 Empyreans were instantly killed. It made him so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. 1 Empyrean killed meant 1 less. The price needed to nurture an Empyrean was extremely high. Not to mention middle-level Empyreans, even low-level Empyreans were extremely expensive. Now that 4 middle-level Empyreans were dead, it was simply too painful. Empyrean Wo Xing was also dumbfounded. He thought that he could easily suppress them. Now it seemed that the one who posed the greatest threat was still a divine sovereign. What's going on? This kid is a little strange. Empyrean Wo Xing frowned, and the powerhouses next to him became vigilant, especially those middle-level Empyreans. They even piled together so that they could take care of each other. The attacks against Empyrean Sai Sai and the others immediately slowed down, allowing Empyrean Sai Sai and the others to catch a breather. However, it was still not ideal. They had long been injured. Facing so many Empyreans, how could they not be injured? They weren't Yi Tianyun. They weren't that powerful. Fortunately, Empyrean Long Ming was tough enough. Otherwise, Empyrean Sai 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 would have been seriously injured. Yi Tianyun glanced ahead and didn't stop. His figure flashed again, and he entered the void. When he entered the void, the group of Empyreans tensed up. Only the upper-level Empyreans were in a slightly better situation. They similarly locked down all the space, especially the surroundings around them. Yi Tianyun definitely entered the void to attack them. He couldn't possibly escape, right? Hence, the upper-level Empyreans were all staring at the vicinity of middle-level Empyreans. They even closed in on Empyrean Sai Sai, wanting to force Yi Tianyun out. Just as their nerves were stretched taut to the extreme, a bright light suddenly appeared behind one of the upper-level Empyreans. All of the power instantly pierced out. Regardless of whether it was the bloodline or the 5 elements core, or even the crazy damage mode, all of it erupted. Raising the power to the maximum, the combat strength directly exploded. Boom! This attack fiercely blasted on the upper-level Empyrean. This upper-level Empyrean didn't even react in time. He thought that Yi Tianyun would sneak attack a middle-level Empyrean, just like before. Who knew that Yi Tianyun didn't play by the rules and directly picked an upper-level Empyrean who was too relaxed against him to attack. The moment he attacked, the effect immediately appeared. Under the fierce attack, this upper-level Empyrean was directly blasted into pieces, nearly dying. Run, run! This upper-level Empyrean's head rapidly fled to the side. How could he still dare to stay here? He was considered lucky. With all kinds of protection for his head, he could escape this calamity. But before he ran far, a spear pierced down again, nailing this head in the void. Chapter 1482. This time, Yi Tianyun did not play cards according to the routine, directly choosing an upper-level Empyrean with the least vigilance, and directly attacking with the strongest power. An upper-level Empyrean was an upper-level Empyrean. Under such circumstances, he could still escape with his head and soul. If not for Yi Tianyun's sharp eyes and quick hands, he would really have successfully escaped. An upper-level Empyrean, not bad. Yi Tianyun felt the experience constantly pouring in, making him feel very satisfied. The experience of an upper-level Empyrean was absolutely rich, and it was the explosive kind. It was just that facing breaking through to the Empyrean level, the required experience was still quite a bit lacking. The original 5 upper-level Empyreans became 4 now. The most difficult to die, the most precious upper-level Empyreans, was gone just like that, making people's hearts ache terribly. Grooming an upper-level Empyrean was as difficult as grooming 10 middle-level Empyreans. This was just a numerical measure. In reality, it far exceeded the difficulty of grooming 10 middle-level Empyreans. The total resources seemed so much, but whether it could succeed or not was another matter. Hence, the death of an upper-level Empyrean immediately made Empyrean Tongwu's eyes turn red. He did not expect that in order to kill a divine lord, So many Empyreans were sacrificed, even upper-level Empyreans were sacrificed. Help me hold back these upper-level Empyreans, leave the rest to us. Yi Tianyun tore the void again, his body stepping into the void, preparing to continue the slaughter. This time, he was targeting those middle-level Empyrean powerhouses. There were still 4 upper-level Empyreans left. Empyrean Feng Qiu and the rest resisting a little was still no problem. After all, the difference now was only 1 upper-level Empyrean, the pressure naturally would not be too great. On the contrary, there were still quite a few middle-level Empyreans. As long as all the middle-level Empyreans and lower-level Empyreans were wiped out, it would basically be considered settled. Even if they could not kill Empyrean Hua Xing and the rest, at least they would not pose too much of a threat to this side. Surround them, surround them. Empyrean Hua Xing and Empyrean Tongwu and the rest all had red eyes, hurriedly sending voice transmissions to their companions, making them surround them and form an Empyrean grand formation. In an instant, they surrounded them, forming 2 Empyrean grand formations, each grand formation different. Their factions were different to begin with, so the joint formation they used would naturally be different. After he used it, his power skyrocketed, reaching the peak in an instant. Previously, they felt that they had the advantage in numbers, so they didn't have to worry about this problem at all. Thus, they immediately used such powerful moves. At the same time, this kind of move also had a disadvantage, which was that it was not very flexible. Now that he had no choice but to use it, the powerful formation quickly locked down the area, locking down all the details. As long as Yi Tianyun appeared from any direction, he would immediately be attacked. The combined might of a middle-level Empyrean was astonishing. It was definitely a powerful attack that surpassed that of an upper-level Empyrean. The most important thing was that he could defend everything. At the very least, he wouldn't be as passive as he would be if he acted alone. When he comes out, we'll seal off the space here so that he can't even enter the void. When the time comes, you can launch a fierce attack. The middle-level Heavenly Venerables of the Myriad Heaven Sacred Realm communicated with the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm Heavenly Venerables and made a detailed plan. One grand formation was mainly for sealing, while the other was mainly for attacking. When the 2 joined forces, they could definitely seal off Yi Tianyun. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others were left to the side, and no one paid attention to them. Now that everyone was focused on dealing with Yi Tianyun, who would care about them? Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others could finally heave a sigh of relief. After taking a few recovery pills for themselves, they came to the side and watched closely. Everyone is focused on little junior brother. I hope there won't be any problems. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others shook their heads and smiled bitterly. They couldn't help much when they came out. It was already good enough that they could resist. Wanting to kill an Empyrean of the same level was still a little difficult for them. Especially when surrounded by so many Empyreans, it was already amazing to not be seriously injured, let alone easily kill them. They were already outstanding for being able to maintain it for so long. To be able to kill their way out of the encirclement of thousands of troops and horses, and even make a round and return after killing many powerhouses, this was ultimately the minority among the minority. Every one of them was a top-notch combination. By the time they were ready, they didn't find any trace of Yi Tianyun, as if he had completely evaporated. Strange, where is he? These Empyreans were puzzled. They had prepared for so long, but they still didn't attack. If he doesn't come out, let's kill their companions first and see if he comes out or not. At this time, Empyrean Tongwu and the others shouted, indicating for them to attack Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and kill them first. Then, they would see if they could force Yi Tianyun out. Immediately after, they locked onto Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai and Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. Instantly, one of the arrays sealed the space around Heavenly Venerate Sword Sai and Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. Their surroundings were blocked by a transparent wall, and they were immediately sealed in a small region. This was their power. When they joined forces, their power was explosive, far exceeding their individual power. The faces of Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others sank, and they all prepared to resist. There was no fear in their eyes. At most, they would die. There was nothing to worry about. This time, I don't believe how long you can hide. Celestial Venerable Tongwu attacked while paying attention to the situation over there. He was simply attacking, and did not have the heart to fight at all. In other words, he was just holding Feng Qiuzun back, and not letting her run away. Despicable. Venerable Feng Qiu said coldly. You dare to call me despicable? I don't know who's the most despicable one. That kid hid his strength and is even hiding now. He's much more despicable than me. Celestial Venerable Tongwu turned his head and looked over. Suddenly, a cold light pierced through and went straight for Huang Long. Heavenly Venerable Tongwu was so frightened that his heart stopped beating. He hurriedly waved the scythes in his hands and swung them behind him. Boom! Because it was too sudden, Heavenly Venerate Bronze Marshal was blasted away and smashed into the ground. Rings of light radiated from his body. It was clear that he had an Empyrean spirit treasure on him. He also had other Empyrean-level treasures protecting his body. Otherwise, he would have been severely injured. Now, he was only slightly injured. It was not a big deal. Venerable Feng Qiu, join forces with me to kill him. The one who sneak attacked Heavenly Venerable Tongwu was none other than Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun did not go and kill those upper-level Empyreans. Instead, he turned his gaze towards Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. This move was to rescue the besieged. He ignored the powerhouses of the Grand Formation and directly killed Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. Let's see how he would give the order. He did not believe that the others would not come to save the situation. All right. The xylophone in Venerable Feng Qiu's hands began to play rapidly. Rings of light blades quickly surrounded him. Every move was filled with killing intent. Chapter 1483. Heavenly Venerable Tongwu was attacked from both sides. Yi Tianyun's every move was deadly, and Venerable Feng Qiu's light blades were also constantly attacking Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. She did not have the demeanor of a saintess at all. Instead, she had become a goddess of death. Under the double attack, Heavenly Venerable Tongwu fell into a dangerous situation all of a sudden. If not for his strong defense, he would really have been decapitated. Are you so afraid of death? Your whole body is covered in defensive equipment. What a coward, just like a turtle. Yi Tianyun constantly waved the Star Divine Spear at the side. Each move was deadly, and each move was filled with vast power. Under the fierce smashing of the spear, the halo of light emitted from Heavenly Venerable Tongwu's body would become a little dimmer. If this were to continue, no matter how sturdy the defense was, it would be destroyed. Especially Venerable Feng Qiu's power, which was also extremely shocking. Countless light blades bombarded over, rubbing against the shield and making a very ear-piercing creaking sound. Each move could leave a deep mark on it. This time, Heavenly Venerable Feng Qiu was really angry. Previously, because she was worried about Yi Tianyun, she did not perform very well. Now it was different. She was determined to kill Heavenly Venerable Tongwu, and her power naturally rose greatly. You dare to call me a turtle? Heavenly Venerable Tongwu almost exploded in anger. He felt that Yi Tianyun was simply too much, but he had no way to fight back. Two powerful attacks were constantly bombarding outside. How could he resist? If he resisted even a little, he would probably lose an arm or a leg. Especially Yi Tianyun's ruthlessness, which was far beyond his imagination. His moves were not limited to this. He did have a lot of defensive equipment, but it did not mean that he was a coward. He just wanted to be safer. No matter what, in the eyes of others, he was indeed a coward who always chose to defend and had no way to resist. In fact, it was not that he did not want to resist, but that he had no way to resist. The suppression of power forced him to retreat again and again. Pass, come and help. Force them to retreat. Heavenly Venerable Tongwu shouted, motioning for his companions to come and save him. Immediately, those Heavenly Venerables who wanted to kill Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai flew over to save Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others were once again abandoned and no longer attacked. This meant that Yi Tianyun's plan was a success. This was the effect he wanted. First, he killed Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. Under their fierce attack, they would definitely send help. Under their fierce attack, they would definitely send help. Empyrean Wise Star had an ugly look on his face as he signaled his companions to go and help. They were all in the same boat now, and if Empyrean Martial Dragon's side was destroyed, they wouldn't be any better off. The two batches of Empyreans rushed over. Only when the two of them cooperated would they be able to display the strongest effect. One to block and the other to attack. This was the best. Let's see how you escape this time. Celestial Venerable Tongwu persisted, waiting for help to arrive. If he had been Tian Wu and Tian Heavens, he would not have been, Tian Wu would be able. If he had not been careless, he would have been able to suppress Yi Tianyun and prevent him from escaping. Although he could enter the void at will, if the space was sealed or under fierce attack, he would not be able to enter easily. When the void was unstable, he would not be able to enter. Yi Tianyun did not say a word. He was still waving his Star God Spear crazily, smashing down again and again, trying to break through the defense. Venerable Feng Qiu was equally anxious. If this continued, they could only choose to give up when reinforcements came. This defense is too strong. Stay away, let me subdue him, Venerable Feng Qiu transmitted, motioning for Yi Tianyun to move to the side. You're going all out? Yi Tianyun transmitted back. Yes, I can only go all out. After I'm done, I will be unable to move for a short period of time. I hope you can protect me then, whether it's you or Little Gold, you cannot be hurt by them. Venerable Feng Qiu was about to erupt this time. She was not willing to erupt before mainly because the side effects were too strong. But if she did not erupt now, what awaited them was death. She could only choose to erupt. Killing these upper-level Empyreans first, the rest would be easier to deal with. There's no need to be like this. Don't worry, nothing will happen. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes as he looked at the group of Empyreans rushing over, motioning for Venerable Feng Qiu not to be too rash. Venerable Feng Qiu was startled. Why was Yi Tianyun telling her not to erupt at this critical juncture? Could it be that Yi Tianyun had his own countermeasures? In the blink of an eye, two large groups of Empyreans had already surrounded them. Venerable Feng Qiu saw that it was already too late. She was prepared to ignore Yi Tianyun's persuasion and was about to erupt with her strongest power. Suddenly, Yi Tianyun turned and pounced towards a group of Empyreans, as if he was suicidal. He actually delivered himself to our doorstep, truly overestimating himself. They were overjoyed in their hearts. Although Yi Tianyun's strength was very strong, with two large groups of powerhouses gathered together, the effect would be different. If they were combined, even a middle-stage upper-level Empyrean could be suppressed. Seal. One of the groups of Empyreans immediately chose to seal the space around Yi Tianyun. This time, he didn't even have a chance to escape. Since space was sealed, it was naturally impossible to escape. Especially the power of the void, it was sealed in a small region. In this state, it was basically unable to display its previous effects, which meant that the power of the void had lost its effectiveness. Attack. At this time, another group of Empyreans started to attack Yi Tianyun's side. When it was sealed, it was equivalent to catching a turtle in a jar. At this time, Yi Tianyun revealed a trace of a cold smile. I've been waiting for this moment. The instant they attacked, Yi Tianyun suddenly vanished from where he was. He directly used instant transmission and flashed to the center of their great array formation. With a sweep of his spear, he instantly killed two middle-level Empyreans. After the two middle-level Empyreans were instantly killed, the balance of the great array formation was instantly destroyed. The energy that erupted immediately flowed back, directly exploding within their bodies. Boom! With a loud bang, their explosive attacks were all rebounded back to them. One by one, they were blasted away, falling from the sky. If they weren't dead, they were injured. In an instant, the powerhouses of the Great Array Formation were disintegrated. It was extremely easy. This was the effect that Yi Tianyun wanted. It was too troublesome to deal with them one by one. Dealing with them all in one go was the easiest and effortless way. As for the seal, it was indeed effective against his power of the void and could seal it. But don't forget, his true escape or sneak attack ability was instant transmission. Chapter 1484. Ding, successfully killed a middle-level Heavenly Venerate. Obtained experience, Ding, successfully killed a middle-level heavenly venerate. Obtained experience. Piles of experience kept pouring in. When the entire array was blown up, many cultivators still died. The attack that was originally enough to kill an upper-level heavenly venerate turned into an explosion inside the body. One could imagine how amazing the effect was. Killing a large group in one go, even if some didn't die, they were seriously injured and unable to move. This was the drawback of the joint array formation. Once there was an imbalance, it might lead to a backlash. The power of the backlash was quite terrifying. It might destroy a group, or it might sacrifice only one. Yi Qianyun was waiting for the moment when their attacks condensed to the strongest and then fiercely counterattacked, resulting in the greatest effect. He had been waiting for this. Otherwise, he wouldn't have attacked Heavenly Venerate Tongwu first. He first numbed their nerves and made them think that it was to attack Heavenly Venerate Tongwu. What he really wanted to deal with was this group of Heavenly Venerates. After killing them, a large number of Heavenly Venerates would be gone, and more than half of Heavenly Venerate Tongwu's subordinates would be gone. One could imagine how heartbroken that kind of feeling was. After paying such a price, it vanished into thin air just like that. Everything was gone. When Heavenly Venerate Tongwu saw the situation over here, he was stunned. His subordinates were all gone. Yi Qianyun wouldn't be stunned like them. His figure flashed, and he came to the center of another group of Heavenly Venerates and directly swept over. They had also been maintaining the ceiling array all along. Hence, after scattering them, it would similarly cause a backlash. Hurry, quickly disperse. Heavenly Venerate Fertile Star roared, indicating for his companions to quickly disperse. But everything was too late. Yi Qianyun's speed was faster than his shouting. It was too funny. The Stellar Divine Spear directly swept over the center of the array. Boom! Boom! This array was also scattered by one move, and each and every one of them suffered a serious backlash. However, their situation was far better than the other group of powerhouses. At most, they suffered some injuries. They weren't on the verge of death or dead. However, their combat power was basically gone, and they were all seriously injured. The power needed to condense the ceiling area was similarly not low. Hence, the situation was not too ideal. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Qianyun quickly followed up with another shot. Basically, he killed one person with one shot. They couldn't even hide or escape. They were like targets standing there, waiting for him to attack. At this time, Heavenly Paragon Gen Sai and the rest were not idle at all. They had already rushed over to help Yi Qianyun kill these Heavenly Paragons. Similarly, they were able to kill one with a single move, and it was extremely easy. Little junior brother is too powerful. Even such a powerful formation could be easily broken. The power of the void is so strong that even the seal has no effect. It doesn't look like the power of the void, but it's our junior brother. The two of them took on the role of harvesting, and began to harvest the heavily injured ones one by one. Seeing this scene, Empyrean Tongwu and the others roared and wanted to rush over to kill Yi Qianyun. However, Empyrean Yu Qian and the others erupted with formidable power and intercepted them. You're all finished. Empyrean Yu Qian and the rest looked coldly at Empyrean Tongwu and the rest. Now, there were only a few upper Empyreans left. Although they were similarly not easy to deal with, in the situation where there were no other obstacles, they at least did not need to worry about their attacks. Now that their momentum was lost, unless they fought desperately with each other, it was impossible for them to pose any threat. Watching Yi Qianyun and the rest harvest their subordinates one by one, their hearts twitched in pain. Not that they had any feelings, but the Empyreans that they spent so much effort to nurture were gone just like that. So many Empyreans died, causing the comprehensive level of their forces to plummet. Although celestial deities were the main combat power, Empyreans were the backbone and fresh blood. Without an endless stream of Empyreans coming up, how could celestial deities possibly appear? Go! Empyrean Wo Xing did not hesitate at all, calling his other companions, turning around and fleeing. They were only left with two upper Empyreans. It was the same on Empyrean Tongwu's side. Bringing a batch of people, now there were only two left, adding up to 4 people. The Upper Empyreans, who were originally the main combat power, did not have any use here instead. It really made people feel ironic. Empyrean Wo Xing was straightforward, fleeing without even thinking, directly leaving Empyrean Tong Wu here and bringing his companions to flee inside the Dragon Sovereign Temple. Even if there was no way to take revenge, they had to snatch the treasures back no matter what. This was the key. As for the Golden Tree, they could only give up. If they still went to snatch the Golden Tree greedily, there would likely be danger. Even if they could resist each other, it would be hard to attack. Unless they went all out, only then would there be a possibility of winning. But this was seriously not worthwhile. It was also very dangerous. Under the circumstances where their comprehensive strength was about the same, going all out might cause them to suffer serious injuries. Suffering serious injuries at this critical juncture was not a good thing. Disregarding how dangerous it was ahead for the time being, just the Empyreans pouring over endlessly from behind might take advantage of people's perilous state. Their forces were not weak, but if they were killed here, who would know? Hence, after Empyrean Wo Xing weighed the pros and cons, he could only choose to retreat first. At that time, he would find people to take revenge. Otherwise, if they clashed head-on now, the chances of victory were seriously too low. Empyrean Wo Xing. When Empyrean Tong Wu saw Empyrean Wo Xing retreat, his heart turned cold, and he roared angrily, "Didn't you say to resist them together?" Empyrean Wo Xing did not even turn his head, nor did he even bother to say more than half a sentence. He ran right away. This speed was as fast as one wanted it to be. In the blink of an eye, he left them behind. Empyrean Tong Wu's heart sank. When he wanted to turn around and escape at the same time, everything was too late. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others intercepted and surrounded them. Now, there were 3 upper-level Empyreans facing 2 upper-level Empyreans. The result was needless to say. Especially when there was a special aberration like Yi Tianyun, it was equivalent to 4 upper-level Empyreans in disguise. Those who come out to make a living will eventually have to pay. Yi Tianyun flew over at this time. Behind him was a pile of corpses. They had long been eliminated by him. Empyrean Tong Wu's expression was ugly. Even if he had endless anger, he also wanted to escape now. But now, how could he escape? "Even if I die, I'll drag the few of you down with me." Empyrean Tong Wu brandished the scythe in his hand, his eyes filled with rage and fighting spirit. Even if he died, he would die standing and not kneeling. Is that so? Then let's try. Chapter 1485. After Empyrean Tong Wu was eliminated, everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Originally, they could have stopped Empyrean Tong Wu and the others, but Empyrean Yu Qian and the others did not do so. This was because of comprehensive considerations that they chose to let Empyrean Tong Wu and the others go. In this way, wouldn't the remaining 2 be much easier to deal with? As for Empyrean Tong Wu and the others, there was no need to worry. Once they caught up, wouldn't they be able to get rid of them? They did not believe that it would be smooth sailing. Could they just take the things and leave? This was impossible. Not to mention the Dragon Sovereign Shrine, even their own shrines would have all sorts of restrictions. These places could only be opened by themselves, so it would be too naive to think that they could casually take away the treasures. After being eliminated, they all stayed beside the Golden Tree to rest. The battle just now had consumed a lot of energy and they needed to rest for a while. There is no need to worry about Empyrean Tong Wu. The Grand Array inside is even more dangerous. Many of their divine carver masters have died. If they want to break it, it will take a lot of effort. Empyrean Feng Qiu was more familiar with the situation here and naturally knew what was going on. They nodded and quickly recovered. Empyrean Feng Qiu looked at Yi Tianyun's side with a complicated gaze. No wonder Yi Tianyun had said to leave it to him. Now it seemed that it was true. She had been overthinking, thinking that Yi Tianyun was just trying to be brave. Who knew that he was really strong? This situation was far beyond her imagination and she was stunned. Yi Tianyun was meditating to recover at this time. He had also consumed a lot of energy. He was basically going all out, sweeping through everything in his way. The consumption was naturally astonishing, but he was not injured and recovering was not a big problem. While they were recovering, The golden tree next to them emitted a thick golden light. Suddenly, golden leaves began to rapidly grow back on its body. This time, the golden leaves became even more golden, even more resplendent. Very quickly, from its original bare appearance, it became lush and looked quite beautiful. In less than a moment, the entire golden tree was covered with golden leaves, covering the entire golden tree and quickly restored to its original appearance. This meant that the golden tree had completely recovered to its peak state and had successfully broken through. After it recovered, it began to tremble. Golden tree sap began to seep out of its body, and a few drops fell on their bodies. As soon as it landed on their bodies, it quickly seeped into their bodies and healed their injuries or recovered the energy they had consumed. More importantly, it had the effect of strengthening their physique. Their eyes lit up. The effect of the golden tree was indeed impressive. A little bit of the golden tree sap was enough to help them recover, and they might even be in a better state than before. Xiao Jin said, "Thank you for helping to protect him. This is your reward." Feng Qiuzun said with a smile. Even though the golden tree was in the midst of making a breakthrough, he had been paying close attention to the situation outside. In the end, it successfully resisted these people. It was intelligent and naturally knew that it had to repay them. The effect of the golden tree sap is really good. I've always heard of it, but I've never experienced it before. This time, I've experienced it. As expected of an extremely powerful demonic tree, it's equivalent to a spirit herb. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai sighed and turned to look at Heavenly Venerable Long Ming. "Senior brother Long Ming, why don't you have this effect?" Heavenly Venerable Long Ming was a treant to begin with. They were both trees, so why was the difference so great? This is the same tree, different fates. Heavenly Venerable Long Ming glared at him and could not be bothered with him. The same spirit herb had different effects. It was naturally impossible for Heavenly Venerable Long Ming to have this kind of effect. However, his blood indeed had a healing effect. But compared to the golden tree, the difference was not just a little bit. Everyone burst into laughter when they heard their conversation. How could it be compared like this? This was like comparing cultivators with cultivators. The difference in bloodlines was astonishing. Everyone could feel this. It's about time, it's time to continue walking inside. Yi Tianyun stood up, his gaze sharp. Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star definitely could not let them off. Wanting to silence them all, then it would be their turn to silence this batch of people this time. If they were not exterminated, it would definitely be extremely troublesome in the future. Especially after going out, Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star would definitely announce to the outside that the vast divine sect wiped out Heavenly Venerable Tongwu. This way, Sacred Peak Divine Realms side would definitely come to find trouble with them. Of course, it was also possible that they would swallow this matter and not dare to find trouble with Yi Tianyun and the others. After all, the great Devas had already returned to Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm. With Heaven Cultivation Divine Realm's protection, Sacred Peak Divine Realm and Myriad Heaven Divine Realm would not dare to act recklessly. At most, they could come secretly, but it was impossible to come openly. No matter what, they had to eliminate Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star. They had to take revenge, that was their motto. One by one, they stood up and walked inside under Feng Qiuzun's lead. The golden tree shrunk into a small tree and landed on her shoulder, following them inside. Now they had another helper, and it could even help heal others. Under Feng Qiuzun's lead, they passed through the temple and entered a passage. There was nothing special in this passage. Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star had long disappeared. "This area is safe, don't worry." Feng Qiuzun reminded them from the side, then led the way forward. Not every part of Dragon Sovereign Shrine had all kinds of formations. That would be too much work. Moreover, there was the golden tree blocking in front, which was already a kind of protection. Soon, they passed through the passage in front of them. After walking out, their eyes suddenly opened up. What came into view was a long staircase that led to the highest peak of the clouds. Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star was constantly climbing up, walking up step by step with great difficulty. Other than that, there was nothing around. It seemed that as long as they climbed to the top, there would be something there. "This is the divine staircase that my uncle built." He likes to live in the top area. Go up this staircase, and the top is the end. Feng Qiuzun said in a low voice. Above, there are all of Uncle's treasures, and also Uncle's will. Uncle's will? Yi Tianyun looked up. He could clearly feel that these staircases contained a special energy. But this was a very normal thing. Seeing how difficult it was for Heavenly Venerable Fertile Star to walk, he knew that it would not be easy to go up. It would take a lot of effort. Yes, it is Uncle's divine lightning will. If you want to pass through here, the best way is to control the power of lightning. Back then, I wanted to control it, but I couldn't. Feng Qiuzun's eyes dimmed, but she spoke of what she had done before. Chapter 1486. Initially, Yi Tianyun had thought that Feng Qiuzun was absorbing the power of lightning to condense a lightning core, but who knew that it was not for that, but for the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. Looking up into the sky, there was indeed dense divine lightning swimming in the black clouds. But it had not struck down yet, and he did not know how strong it was. Only with a lightning core can one climb higher, or reach the end. Yi Tianyun looked up and asked. That is not the case. The difficulty is definitely not small. If there is a lightning core, it will be much easier. The main thing is to inherit Uncle's will, to be able to open the final door. Venerable Feng Qiu told Yi Tianyun everything. As their cooperation deepened, she trusted Yi Tianyun more and more. Anything that was not a secret could be said in full. In any case, there were some things that could not be done, and were not very detailed. For example, how to go through the passageway. These were more confidential matters. If there is no, then there is no way to inherit your uncle's will. Yi Tianyun thought for a moment, then added, not even with blood relations? It seems that it is not possible, not even with blood relations. The main thing was that the situation was too sudden. Uncle did not even have time to react, and had already entered the Divine Realm War. I believe everyone knows the result. Feng Qiuzun sighed deeply, somewhat sorrowful. This was indeed too sudden. The Divine Realm War had suddenly happened. Feng Qiuzun's uncle would definitely have immediately accepted the challenge. The result was obvious. He was basically dead. If he did not die, he would definitely still be alive, and would even be an overlord. Ancient heavenly venerables were no joke, especially after breaking through to heavenly god. They were ancient heavenly gods. Ancient heavenly gods were extremely powerful, far more powerful than most of the current experts. Thinking about it, Feng Qiuzun's talent was indeed shocking. There was definitely some ancient bloodline in her, and it was just a generation gap. The effect was undoubtedly even more shocking. But Feng Qiuzun was a little too young. Didn't that mean that her parents were still alive? If that was the case, then there would be two ancient heavenly venerables, and even heavenly gods. Doesn't that mean you have no chance at all? Yi Tianyun said in shock. Did this mean that she had come here for nothing? It's not that there isn't. I'm just saying that relying on bloodlines is meaningless. We can only rely on our own strength, and a bit of luck, to be able to do this. Venerable Feng Qiu looked up. Now we have to fight for time. Quickly climb up. Only here is the true passageway. Yi Tianyun recalled the map. Indeed, this was the end of the deepest part. As for what exactly was there, he had no idea. Soon after, they all climbed up the divine staircase. The moment they climbed up, Yi Tianyun immediately felt his feet go numb, as if he had been electrocuted. However, that was all. This was just the initial stage, so it was impossible for there to be a lot of strong electric currents. From this, it could be seen that Heavenly Venerate Longyun mainly cultivated the power of thunder. That was why he had set this up. The power of lightning, as well as the lightning flashing in the sky, were the best proof. Damn it, they still caught up in the end. When Heavenly Venerate Fertile Star saw Yi Tianyun and the others catching up, he could only quicken his pace. But every step was so difficult, as if his feet were fixed on the stairs. When he raised his feet, they were dragged down by the dense lightning, and his whole body felt numb. Heavenly Venerate Fertile Star did not possess the power of thunder, nor did he cultivate in this aspect. The power of thunder was not bad, but it was also a bit sparse. He mainly cultivated one of the 5 elements, so it really depended on luck if he wanted to find someone suitable for him. Yi Tianyun just happened to have the power of thunder, but he had condensed it later, so it was extremely easy for him here. Stepping on it, The power of thunder under his feet not only did not cause any harm to him, but instead strengthened his thunder core. This kind of feeling was truly enjoyable. The others, on the other hand, found it more and more difficult to walk. They could only choose to expel the power of thunder from their bodies, otherwise it could endlessly gather in their bodies, and there was a possibility of danger. Seeing that guy in front, I really want to hit him. When Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler saw Heavenly Venerate Fertile Star in front, he couldn't help but want to make a move. Don't make a move. If you make a move here, you will attract the divine thunder, and it will be disadvantageous to you. Heavenly Venerate Feng Chiu hurriedly advised. I was just saying, how would I dare to really make a move? Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler laughed dryly. He knew that he couldn't make a move here. If he could, Heavenly Venerate Feng Chiu would have made a move first. They could all feel that there was a special restriction around here. If they made a move, the divine thunder would definitely greet them first. This was not to protect the trial takers, but simply to prevent anyone from making a move here and destroying their own territory. As they climbed higher and higher, the situation became worse and worse. The terrifying power of thunder strengthened greatly. Those with stronger physiques could still continue to persevere, while those with weaker physiques felt their whole body go numb. Heavenly Venerate Sword Ruler was lagging behind a little. His situation was the worst, and he could no longer keep up with the pace of the others. They were all Empyreans, but the things that Empyreans set up back then were incomparably powerful, easily suppressing middle-level Empyreans. Upper-level Empyreans' situation was still acceptable, and they could all quickly keep up. Among them, the most relaxed was none other than Yi Tianyun. It wasn't that his physique was heaven-defying, but it was all thanks to condensing a thunder core within his body. Fortunately, he condensed this thunder core back then. Otherwise, it would definitely not be too easy for him here. Truly comparing physiques, he was still slightly inferior compared to Empyrean Yu Qian and the rest. The only thing that could compete with them was his combat strength. Crazy damage mode would not strengthen his physique, but it purely enhanced his combat strength. Hence, the standard of his physique was at most comparable to the middle-late stage Empyrean standard, and could not be much stronger. Hence, Yi Tianyun now took on the task of surpassing Empyrean Fertile Star with the fastest speed and reaching the peak. The rest of his companions would at most go up a little slower, but it was not impossible. Especially Empyrean Yu Qian and the rest, there was basically no pressure. They just needed to spend a bit more time. Very soon, Yi Tianyun swiftly caught up behind Empyrean Fertile Star. The two were only separated by a dozen meters. Normally, he only needed one step and he could easily reach. Now, he needed to chase several dozen more steps before he could reach. You have a thunder attribute physique? When Empyrean Fertile Star saw Yi Tianyun catching up, his expression was not too good. If this continued, he would definitely be caught. Chapter 1487. So what if I am, so what if I'm not? Yi Tianyun grinned at Empyrean Fertile Star, looking like he was seeing an old friend. Empyrean Fertile Star snorted coldly. So what if you go up first? When the time comes, just wait to be taken care of by me. In his view, Yi Tianyun's strength was indeed not bad, but he was not the kind that was very strong. Perhaps he appeared and disappeared a little mysteriously, but the overall situation was not very heaven-defying. As long as it was a one-on-one battle, especially when there were two people on his side, could 2 against 1 not be enough? Is that so? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. He suddenly rushed up and aimed at one of the upper-level Empyreans, kicking out. With a dong, that upper-level Empyrean was directly sent flying by his kick. This extremely terrifying kick directly caused that upper-level Empyrean's body to cave in. Before Empyrean Fertile Star could react, Yi Tianyun quickly flew out and kicked out again. However, this Empyrean Fertile Star was already prepared and quickly reached out to block. Unless Yi Tianyun kicked Empyrean Fertile Star away first, it would still give Empyrean Fertile Star enough time to react. Even so, Empyrean Wise Star was still kicked and sent flying out of the divine staircase, falling straight down from midair. At this time, their eyes were filled with horror. Was Yi Tianyun courting death? Rumble. At this time, the divine thunder quickly struck down on Yi Tianyun. The terrifying divine thunder rotated rapidly in the void and struck Yi Tianyun. Such a deafening sound was like the anger of a violator. Because Yi Tianyun directly used his fists and feet, and not the kind of explosive energy or long-range attack. That kind of attack would immediately be offset or immediately punished by the divine lightning. Or when he took out a weapon, the divine lightning would immediately judge that he was in danger. Now it was a close-range attack. No one thought that Yi Tianyun would do this, not even the divine lightning. Is he crazy? Feng Qiuzun was stunned. They had agreed not to attack recklessly. If they did, they might be struck to death. At this time, Yi Tianyun suddenly jumped out of the divine staircase, as if he was trying to escape from the divine lightning. However, it was meaningless. The terrifying divine lightning struck down heavily, piercing through him. Yi Tianyun felt a sharp pain in his body, and his body quickly turned into charcoal. The terrifying divine lightning coursed through his body. Even though he had a lightning core, he could not withstand the terrifying power of the divine lightning. In an instant, his 4 limbs exploded. They were as fragile as tree branches, splitting into several pieces with a single strike. Not only his arms, but even his legs were quickly turned into powder. "Ha ha, well done, well done. Kill this guy who broke the rules. Do you think you can hide? If I could, I would have killed you first." Empyrean Fertile Star laughed heartily, feeling carefree and carefree. He felt that Yi Tianyun deserved to die. At the same time, he felt that this power was extremely terrifying. It was because he felt that the power was astonishing that he did not dare to act recklessly. The higher he climbed, the more he felt that there was a terrifying divine lightning above. The power was absolutely not inferior to being attacked by a heavenly deity. This meant that if one wanted to mess around here, one was either a half-step heavenly deity or a heavenly deity. Otherwise, it was courting death. While everyone was stunned, suddenly, Yi Tianyun, who was in midair, emitted a burst of fire. Behind him, dragon and phoenix phantoms instantly appeared. In an instant, rising from the ashes erupted. The body that had originally turned into charcoal immediately regenerated. Exquisite and smooth skin, a complete and sturdy body, there were no changes at all. In the blink of an eye, he recovered. This heaven-defying recovery power left everyone dumbfounded. Die. The stellar divine spear in Yi Tianyun's hands rapidly turned into a sharp light, directly piercing down from midair. That upper-level Empyrean who was originally gloating, thinking that he was facing a corpse, recovered in the blink of an eye. Furthermore, he held his weapon and rapidly turned down. Before he could react, the attack had already pierced through his body. His original smile immediately froze. No one had expected that Yi Tianyun could actually still move. Not to say that he would not die, but from the looks of it, he was definitely heavily injured. But suddenly, he recovered, becoming completely unharmed. Open. Yi Tianyun fiercely waved his hand. Just like that, an upper-level Empyrean was destroyed by him, completely cut in half. Originally, it should not have been so easy to deal with. The other party had been too careless, thinking that he was dead for sure, or that he was so heavily injured that he could not move. It was precisely this carelessness that allowed him to eliminate this upper-level Empyrean. Then, Yi Tianyun landed steadily on the ground. There was not a single wound on his body. There was no problem at all. Phew, the feeling of death is really not good. Yi Tianyun shook his head. That feeling of death was indeed very intense. Just as he was about to collapse, the rising from the ashes skill automatically activated. In the blink of an eye, he recovered, but the cooldown time was several years. Of course, this was not a big problem. As long as he used more cooling divine stones, or cooling divine talismans, there would be no problem. Logically speaking, he should eliminate Empyrean Wo Xing first. But Empyrean Wo Xing was slightly more difficult. He was at the middle-level Empyrean level. His other companion was different. He was only at the early-level Empyrean level. This meant that the success rate of killing him was a bit higher. Therefore, Yi Tianyun chose the one that could be killed the most successfully, and not depending on which one was more important. To catch bandits, first catch the king. He understood this principle. But this king was so powerful. He could not be easily killed. If he missed this opportunity, it would be troublesome. Little junior brother. After they saw, they were instantly delighted. They had thought that Yi Tianyun was heavily injured. Who would have thought that he was completely fine? It looked like it was a smokescreen. Empyrean Feng Qiu heaved a sigh of relief. They all thought that Yi Tianyun was dead for sure, or heavily injured. Now it seemed that this was still part of the plan. How can this be? Empyrean Wo Xing's eyes widened. He felt that this was very inconceivable. He was clearly on the verge of death. How did he suddenly come back to life? Just what kind of ability was this, to be able to do this? Or perhaps it was all an illusion. There was nothing wrong with Yi Tianyun at all. No matter what, after Empyrean Wo Xing reacted, he quickly ran up the divine staircase. He did not fight with Yi Tianyun, because Empyrean Yu Qian and the others all wanted to jump down from the divine staircase and attack him together. As long as they attacked him together, he would not be able to turn things around. Therefore, as long as he continued to climb up the divine staircase, it was equivalent to having an extra layer of protection. What, not coming down to fight? Yi Tianyun said indifferently. Or rather, not taking revenge for your companion. He saw Empyrean Wo Xing quickly scurrying up. He walked over step by step, wanting to try and provoke Empyrean Wo Xing to get him to roll down and fight with him. Chapter 1488. Empyrean Fertile Star still sped up, his speed getting faster and faster instead. He could not even be bothered with the injuries on his body. That kick of Yi Tianyun's just now was not light. It was even very heavy, but it was all on his arm. At most, it would just break 1 or 2 bones. To this level of cultivation, it could only be considered a superficial wound standard. After recovering a little, there would be no problem. Why? Still running so fast? Come down if you have the capabilities, Yi Tianyun shouted, hinting for Empyrean Fertile Star to come down. But Empyrean Fertile Star completely ignored him and still ran forward. How could his speed slow down? Empyrean Fertile Star was not a fool. He knew what his fate would be if he came down. He would suffer a group attack. He was not an invincible existence either. It was naturally impossible to go down, unless it was a one-on-one battle. But would they fight one-on-one? The answer was definitely not. They would only fight one-on-one against a group. Previously, it was bullying with numbers. Yi Tianyun, they all were even less fools. They only knew how to gang up and did not care about whatever fairness. Whose fist was bigger was the true hard and fast logic. Yi Tianyun shrugged his shoulders helplessly and continued to chase forward, climbing the divine ladder together. Following him, rapidly catching up, Empyrean Fertile Star sped up his footsteps even more, swiftly rushing forward, pulling apart a distance from Yi Tianyun. But the further back, the closer the distance was. Since Yi Tianyun could catch up previously, he could catch up even more now. Effortlessly, Yi Tianyun caught up, scaring Empyrean Fertile Star until he dodged to the side, not daring to get too close to Yi Tianyun. If he attacked again, he would have to start running all over again. It would be rather troublesome. The key was that after being beaten down, he would be surrounded by Empyrean Yu Qian and the rest, guarding the stairs. Then he would have no way of going up. Might as well just stand right where he was, staring fixedly at Yi Tianyun to see what he wanted to do. Yi Tianyun could not be bothered with him and continued charging forward, chasing straight after Empyrean Yu Qian and the rest. As for attacking, forget about it. There was still rising from the ashes previously. If he died again, it would have to consume his life bar. The key was that it wasn't just one life that could be reborn, but 100. This is equivalent to 10 billion crazy points to be reborn once. It wasn't like before, where one life could be resurrected. With the increase in his cultivation, he would need to consume even more resources. It was impossible to maintain the same standards as before. A lot of data had changed, whether it was here or in terms of experience, there had been significant changes. Actually, this number was still acceptable. It was just that the other party was already on guard and wouldn't give him any chance to launch a sneak attack. It was likely that Empyrean Wise Star would be able to dodge it as soon as he attacked. Very quickly, Yi Tianyun rushed over and caught up to Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others. Little junior brother, you really scared me to death. I thought you were finished just now. Sword ruler Heavenly Paragon had a frightened look on his face. That's right. It's too dangerous to suddenly rush over like that. It wouldn't be worth it to perish together with those guys. Everyone was shocked. No one expected Yi Tianyun to do this. Fortunately, nothing happened. I was indeed finished just now. Fortunately, I managed to save my life. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "Don't worry this time. He definitely can't catch up, and he won't dare to catch up. How could Heavenly Venerate Wise Star dare to catch up? If he was attacked by Yi Tianyun and was kicked out again, he would definitely be finished. Now they can go up normally." Heavenly Venerate Wise Star was scared and didn't dare to come up. Even if Yi Tianyun doesn't want to live, he still wants to live. Therefore, he could only follow behind, but the distance was still quite far. He didn't dare to get too close. Looking at his cowardly appearance, they couldn't help but want to laugh. A dignified upper-level celestial master was so scared by Yi Tianyun, it was really the first time. Below, Heavenly Venerate Wise Star was about to explode. If it weren't for safety reasons, he would have already rushed up. "When I get out, you are dead." Heavenly Venerate Wise Star cursed them in his heart, but he didn't dare to approach them. As they climbed up bit by bit, they got closer and closer to the peak. Their feet also became more and more numb. The power of thunder and lightning constantly swam through their bodies. They could only keep expelling it. Because there was more time, they didn't need to be too anxious at all. They were the first batch to go up. Who would fight with them for it? Even Heavenly Venerate Wise Star stayed far away from them. He wouldn't even dare to rush over. Even if other cultivators came, they would start climbing from the bottom. By the time they caught up, Yi Tianyun would have long reached the peak. "A little more and we'll reach the peak." Heavenly Venerate Feng Chiu looked at the clouds above and said solemnly, "After passing through this cloud layer, the peak is above." They nodded and quickly quickened their footsteps. Actually, they were pretty much going up step by step. They couldn't go fast even if they wanted to. After entering the cloud layer, the power of the thunder and lightning rapidly strengthened several times. It made their bodies tremble. This feeling was really uncomfortable. Yi Tianyun's situation was much better. The thunder core in his body became stronger and stronger. This was equivalent to a kind of disguised cultivation. Although the difficulty had increased, it was still within an acceptable range. They weren't ordinary Heavenly Venerates to begin with. If they couldn't even pass through this, then they really didn't have any ability. This place could stop many Heavenly Venerates, but they belonged to the exception. With super strong willpower and decent ability, passing through here was no problem. Finally, after passing through the thick lightning cloud layer, what entered their eyes was a palace. They didn't expect that there would be another palace floating in the air inside the shrine. After stepping onto the last floor, the power of thunder and lightning completely disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Looking over, there were many divine lightning surging in the thick cloud layer at the side. If they jumped over, they would probably be electrocuted into charcoal. It was not a wise choice to fight here. "We're finally here. This is my uncle's residence." Heavenly Venerate Feng Chiu explained solemnly, "Because uncle is no longer here, this place automatically switched to defense mode. Anyone who enters will be judged as an intruder. This includes me. If you want to stop, the only way is to become the master of this place. The way to become the master of this place is very simple. Just forcefully enter inside and then suppress the artifact spirit inside." This sounded simple, but the difficulty of actually accomplishing it was definitely extremely difficult. To control the treasure of an ancient Heavenly Venerate, the price needed to be paid was enormous. This was completely different from selecting disciples. They just had to transform into intruders, forcefully slaughter their way in, and finally suppress the artifact spirit to complete the mission. At that time, they would be able to become the master of this place and control the dragon-revered shrine at will. This place was equivalent to the core of the dragon-revered shrine. Controlling the core would make it their own treasure. Chapter 1489. Hearing Feng Chiuzun's words, they looked at each other. It was clear that this was not something that could be done easily, and it required teamwork to succeed. Of course, they were a team now, and could work together to suppress it. If they were to suppress it alone, it would be extremely difficult. If we cultivate the power of lightning, it will be easier to control this core? Yi Tianyun asked from the side. Yes, Uncle cultivates the power of lightning. If we use a similar power to forcefully control it, the success rate will increase, but this is not absolute. As long as we have enough time, we can control it. Correspondingly, it will take longer. Feng Qiuzun explained. I cultivate the power of lightning, then I will control this shrine. How about it? Yi Tianyun said very straightforwardly. Feng Qiuzun was silent. Without even guessing, Yi Tianyun knew that Feng Qiuzun wanted to control the shrine, and not give it to someone else. Feng Qiuzun, I can take control of the shrine first. When this is over, I can give it to you. Yi Tianyun added. Really? Feng Qiuzun's beautiful eyes showed surprise. This was what she was most worried about. She had come to take over the dragon-revered shrine. No matter what, it was her uncle's inheritance. How could she not take it? But we need to discuss some conditions. As for the distribution of the treasures inside. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes and said, we can't help for nothing, right? Of course, if you choose to join my force, we won't take a single cent from the shrine. Sword Sai Empyrean almost laughed out loud. Wasn't this bullshit? She had already joined the Three Realms God Realm. Wouldn't the treasures still belong to Yi Tianyun? Even if she didn't get a single treasure, when she needed Feng Qiuzun, she would still come. In the end, even if they didn't take the resources here, it was the same as giving them to Feng Qiuzun to cultivate, especially at the crucial moment, they would still be Feng Qiuzun's helpers. You are making things difficult for me. Feng Qiuzun shook her head and sighed. I choose the former, let's split the treasures. I know that if I want to succeed, I have to pay a price. I came here with the attitude of giving it a try. Whether I succeed or not is another matter. The distribution of the treasures is very simple. I only want Uncle's inheritance, which is this ancient site. The rest of the treasures, you can basically take them. What I want is Xiao Jin and this shrine. Venerable Feng Qiu was very generous. She provided instructions on how to enter, or how to break through. It could be said that she had a huge advantage. She should have gotten a bigger share, but she didn't want any reward. She just wanted these two things. The shrine here was very precious, but it could also be said that it was not. As long as there were no treasures here, it could only be regarded as a decent moving palace. Feng Qiuzun said. Feng Qiuzun said. Feng Tianzun said. Zun Qiuzun said. Feng said. Said. 1 Yuan said. Feng no, I like to be alone, I don't like to join any forces. Feng Qiuzun shook her head, her beautiful eyes filled with disappointment. Yi Tianyun stared at Feng Qiuzun. He could see that Feng Qiuzun was very happy, but she still chose to refuse. He could see that Feng Qiuzun's impression of him was rising, and under normal circumstances, it would not be a problem to win her over. But she still refused. There must be something she couldn't say, otherwise she would not have refused. Along the way, she must have been tempted, and wanted to join some decent forces. She still chose to refuse. There must be something she couldn't say. All right, then let's split it like this. Yi Tianyun did not stand on ceremony, they had paid a lot as well. Yu Qian and the others were from the same sect, but it did not mean that they did not want anything, they still had to split what needed to be split. Entering this place was fatal. If they did not get anything, it would be too much of a loss. After a simple explanation, they quickly walked towards the door. Feng Qiuzun sized it up and said solemnly, this door can only be forcefully opened, or the imprint on it can be broken, otherwise it cannot be opened. The towering door in front of them did not have any switches, nor did it have any grooves or anything like that. Either it was opened by the artifact spirit inside, or it could be broken through, or it could be forcefully broken through. These were the three methods. Letting the artifact spirit inside open the door was simply wishful thinking. It would already be good if they were not exterminated, let alone help open the door. Break the imprint. Yi Tianyun narrowed his eyes as he sized up the imprint. If he forcefully broke it, it would definitely be the most difficult to break, and the time it would take was also the greatest. Breaking the imprint also required time, but it was the same as unlocking a lock. Unlocking a lock, a large door could be easily broken open. Breaking it by force was the same as constantly smashing the door. It would be fine if the door was weak, but if the door was incomparably hard, then it would be extremely difficult to break. Often the simplest way to break it was to break the imprint. Break it by force, there's nothing to say about that. Cultivating the imprint is too difficult. The highest level we have here is a 2nd grade Divine Inscription Master. If we want to break it, the difficulty is just too great. It's basically impossible. Empyrean Empyrean knew the situation on his side, so he naturally wanted to choose to break it by force. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others nodded. This was the only way for now. Empyrean Feng Qiu was also a Divine Inscription Master, but her rank was slightly lower, only at the 3rd grade. Divine Inscription Masters above the 6th or 7th grade were not cabbages. They required a lot of time to cultivate. A high-grade Divine Inscription Master's cultivation is definitely not weak. A cultivator's cultivation is not necessarily weak, but their level might not be. Using brute force to break it is too slow. With the defensive power of this door, it will take us half a year to open it. Yi Tianyun shook his head and said, "Let me break it, it will be faster than breaking it by force. The most important thing is that it won't take much effort, and I can preserve my strength to break it. Little junior apprentice brother, you can break the imprint here?" They were all shocked. Only a 6th or 7th grade Divine Inscription Master or above could break it. If Yi Tianyun said that he could break it, then didn't that mean that his Divine Inscription Master rank had reached the 6th or 7th grade? This was really scary. Since when were 6th or 7th grade Divine Inscription Masters so worthless? Or was it when one's cultivation was so low? I'll give it a try. Whether or not I can break it is another matter. In any case, there's nothing wrong with trying. Yi Tianyun smiled. He naturally had confidence in his heart. With just a glance, he knew how to break it. Chapter 1490. Yi Tianyun's words caused them to glance at each other. They didn't have much confidence in their hearts. Give it a try. If we casually break it, there is a chance that it will rebound. Empyrean Feng Qiu was a bit speechless. Not everything could be casually tried. If the energy above the divine seal were to rebound, it would be the same as being ruthlessly struck by an Empyrean. The truth was that this was the same as messing around with the divine seal. If the divine seal was slightly damaged, it would cause the energy to leak out. This would be the same as being struck by a heavy blow. I understand this. I can't guarantee whether or not I can break it. But whether or not it will rebound, I won't make such a mistake. Yi Tianyun smiled. He came in front of the door and began to break it. Breaking it was very simple. All he had to do was break the most crucial God seal on it. Then, the overall God seal would be broken. Although it was easy to say, it was very difficult to implement. If he didn't know where the key point was, how could he break it? Even if he knew the key point, whether or not he could break it was another matter. Yi Tianyun carefully looked at the top, looking for the key points, and found all of them. Empyrean Sword Sai and the others were also watching from the side. They wanted to see if they could find any clues that could help Yi Tianyun. At this time, Empyrean Wise Star had already caught up. He wasn't too far away to begin with, so it wasn't surprising that he could keep up. It was just that he hadn't completely climbed up. He was still on the side of the divine ladder, shrouded in the power of thunder, making him feel uncomfortable. Yi Tianyun and the others were above, so how could he dare to casually go up? Once he went up, he would leave the protection and there was a chance he would be besieged. Does that boy want to break the divine seal and destroy this door? What an idiot! Without a 6th or 7th grade Divine Inscription Master or above, it is impossible to break it. I'm afraid his eyes won't be able to see anything, right? Below, Empyrean Wise Star mocked, thinking that their actions were laughable. The previous channel indeed required a high level to pass through. However, it didn't really require a 6th or 7th grade Divine Inscription Master. It was just that a 6th or 7th grade Divine Inscription Master needed a much shorter time. Empyrean Wise Star just so happened to be a 5th grade Divine Inscription Master, so he was able to see through this. With a single glance, He knew that there was no way he could break the God seal on the door. He could only choose to break it with brute force. In a while, they will forcefully break through the barrier. Their consumption will definitely not be low. Once they have consumed too much of their energy, we will launch a sneak attack. Empyrean Fertile Star's eyes revealed a cold and gloomy light. He also had a card in his hand, but he wasn't willing to use it until the critical moment. If it was mainly used for a sneak attack, the effect would be the best. If it was not used for a sneak attack, the effect would be greatly reduced. After all, he had already blocked it in advance, so how could the effect be any better? He had been hiding by the side, waiting for them to start breaking the barrier with brute force. In his opinion, Yi Qianyun and the rest would definitely break the barrier with brute force. Based on what he knew, these people would not be able to break the divine seal. As for Yi Qianyun, he did not care about him at all. Perhaps he had decent strength, but it did not mean that he could break the divine seal. That kid is really strange. He is also at the Divine Lord level. This is not possible. When Empyrean Fertile Star sensed Yi Qianyun's cultivation again, he was still deeply shocked. Previously, he thought that Yi Shiwen was hiding his strength. Now, from the looks of it, it did not seem to be the case. Yi Shiwen really had Divine Lord cultivation. But was this really possible? Was there such a powerful Divine Lord? While he was lying in ambush behind, the other Empyreans were watching Yi Qianyun's situation. At the same time, they were also watching the situation behind them. They naturally knew that Empyrean Fertile Star was lying in ambush behind them. But even at the back, it was impossible for them not to break the barrier, right? Knowing that they might be ambushed, they could only brace themselves and break the barrier. Otherwise, when more people gathered, it would be troublesome. All right, Yi Qianyun suddenly shouted, attracting everyone's attention. What's the matter? They came over and asked. I already know how to break it. It might take a long time. Wait a moment, Yi Qianyun said with a smile. You can really break this divine seal? They were startled, feeling very surprised. Do you think I would lie to you? Yi Qianyun smiled. Not really, but how do we break it? Empyrean Sword Sai and the others still felt that it was impossible. The difficulty was just too great. How can we break it? Isn't it just breaking the divine seals one by one? Do you want me to break them with brute force? Yi Qianyun waved his hand and said, I won't say any more. You all just wait on the side. After he dropped these words, he immediately rushed towards a spot and began to rapidly break it. His fingers rapidly tapped on the surface, choosing the most fragile spot to break it. Little junior apprentice brother, you really want to break the divine seal from the divine seal. If you can really break it, then that means you have the strength of a 6th or 7th grade divine carving master. How did you cultivate like that? You ask me, but who do I ask? They looked at each other, feeling a chill run down their spines. A Divine Lord level martial artist beating up an Empyrean was already monstrous enough. If a 6th or 7th grade divine carving master was added to the mix, then how could they live? Following that, Yi Qianyun began to rapidly break through the divine seals at an incredible speed. His speed was quite amazing. After several moves, a divine seal was broken. This speed left them dumbfounded. In the blink of an eye, one of the divine seals was broken. Then, he quickly broke through the next divine seal. What's going on? This breaking speed, I've never seen anything like this before. It's already good enough that he can break through it. Is this speed slow? If this speed is slow, then all the divine carving masters I've seen before are nothing more than snails. They all thought that when Yi Qianyun said it would take a long time, he meant that it would take a long time to break through the divine seals. But now, how could it be slow? It was as fast as flying. In just a few moves, he had broken through the divine seals as easily as drinking water. This time, Yi Qianyun had opened his breaking speed to 128 times the normal speed, so how could it be slow? In a frenzied state, his breaking speed was simply too amazing. He thought that it would be more difficult to break through these divine seals because he rarely came into contact with these things. But who knew that after he started breaking through them, he simply couldn't stop. It was simply too easy. He easily broke through them. He swept through them all the way, shocking everyone. Even Empyrean Walker Star, who was lying in ambush, nearly tumbled down the stairs. He rubbed his eyes and stared at Lin Ming with wide eyes. He said in amazement, "What kind of freak is this? A 6th or 7th grade divine seal is wiped away like a rag. It's gone in the blink of an eye." Chapter 1491. Such a crazy method of breaking through caused everyone to be stunned, and the one who was the most shocked was none other than Feng Qiuzun. This was her uncle's relic, and the divine seal on it was personally carved by her uncle. She was very clear on how high the level was. Now that it was easily broken by Yi Tianyun, it meant that Yi Tianyun's level was even higher. This reminded her of the extremely dangerous path she had taken in the passageway. Yi Tianyun could rely on luck to walk the right path a few times, but now that she thought about it carefully, it was not luck at all, but strength. Yi Tianyun had long seen through the correct path, and even lied to her that it was luck. Now she understood everything. It was all about strength. It was fine if he was lucky once or twice, but to be able to succeed every time, it had already proven everything. It was just that she was too stupid, and common sense limited her thoughts. Those with low cultivation would definitely not be of a high grade. It was this kind of common sense that led to a wrong result. He lied to me. Feng Qiuzun bit her lips, thinking about how Yi Tianyun walked so easily behind her, and even dragged her back at the crucial moment. Only now did she know that an expert was watching her play behind her back. When this is over, see how I will settle the score with him. After Feng Qiuzun thought about it, she decided on what to do. To actually tease her like this, how could she forgive him so easily? She thought about how she had carefully walked forward step by step, and probably thought that Yi Tianyun was laughing at her behind her back. Yi Tianyun was completely unaware of their thoughts. He only focused on breaking the divine seals, sweeping and breaking them one by one. In a short few hours, he finally broke all the divine seals here. There were simply too many crucial divine seals on the door. They were densely packed together, forming an extremely sturdy door. To break it, it would take a lot of time. This was also thanks to him activating his 128 times speed. If it was under normal circumstances, he would need at least 10 days to half a month to be able to break it. "Open for me." Yi Tianyun aimed at the door and slammed it. Then, the huge door slowly opened and a surge of lightning power poured out from inside. Yi Tianyun was immediately enveloped, and so were the others. However, they quickly prepared to defend themselves. A moment later, the power of lightning slowly dissipated and everything returned to normal. Yi Tianyun wasn't affected at all. Instead, he sucked until he was full. This bit of energy was nothing to him, and he could easily absorb it. "Let's go in." Yi Tianyun led the way, Feng Qiuzun and the rest then reacted and quickly followed. After they entered, Yi Tianyun reached out and slapped the door shut. Inside, Yi Tianyun knocked on the door a few times, and it was sealed again. On the other side of the gate, there was also a similar seal, but it was much simpler than the one outside. Because according to the original design, just the seal on the outside was enough. There weren't many seals inside. For this, Yi Tianyun had to redraw it and add a few more seals. This time, even if Empyrean Wise Star wanted to come in, he would have to spend some effort. "All right, let's go. I don't want to let those guys come in so casually. That would be too easy on them." Yi Tianyun smiled and followed Feng Qiuzun and the rest in. Sure enough, after he finished setting it up, Empyrean Wise Star waited for a while before jumping up from the divine ladder. After jumping up, he slightly eased the power of lightning in his body. "If I stay here for too long, I'll really go crazy." After slightly easing, he turned his gaze to the door. "This guy can really break it. What the hell? But this is also good. It saves a lot of time to break it." When he came to the door and pushed it a little, he found that it wouldn't budge. Damn it, they actually locked it from the inside. Empyrean Wise Star immediately knew that it must have been locked from the inside. Otherwise, there wouldn't be such an effect. Immediately, he could only brace himself and start smashing the door. However, this was not something that could be easily smashed. No matter what, it would take a period of time before he could break it. At this time, Empyrean Feng Qiu led them inside. Empyrean Feng Qiu was more familiar with this place, so she must have personally led the way. Little junior brother, isn't the level of your divine seals too high? I feel that not to mention 6th or 7th grade, it should be at least 8th or 9th grade. The speed at which you break it is so fast, it's really scary, Empyrean Sword Ruler said in surprise. 8th or 9th grade divine carving master? I want to. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Now that he had broken through to the 7th grade, he had completely used up the 2 values. If he wanted to raise it to the 8th grade, it would be an even more terrifying astronomical value. As for the 9th grade, he didn't even dare to think about it. Then how high is the level now? Empyrean Sword Ruler and the others all looked over, very interested in this point. Because the speed at which Yi Tianyun broke it was too fast, it was hard for them to judge. 7th grade. Yi Tianyun said with a smile. 7th grade, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Although they had already guessed it, they were still shocked. Little junior brother, how do you cultivate? Can you teach me 1 or 2 moves? In fact, Empyrean Sword Ruler asked half-jokingly. Most of how he cultivated was classified. I don't know either. I usually carve the divine seals, and after cultivating for a long time, I will break through. As for the method, I really don't know. If I knew, I would definitely tell my senior brothers. Yi Tianyun shrugged helplessly. How could Lin Ming know of any other methods? He had to rely on smashing his experience into the divine engraving master level. Alright, maybe this is talent. There's no comparison. They could only accept their fate. Some people did have amazing talent in a certain area, and they could cultivate it easily. It was really infuriating to compare with others. Sir God Tianyun, tell me the truth. Was the luck you mentioned earlier fake? You already saw through it, but you didn't say it. Empyrean Feng Qiu finally asked. That's right. Yi Tianyun smiled embarrassedly. He felt a little embarrassed. In the end, he was still seen through. Why didn't you say it? Empyrean Feng Qiu said as she bit her lips. Actually, even if I said it, you wouldn't believe it. Besides, you can walk, and I have to watch step by step. It's definitely not as fast as you walking. Yi Tianyun lied. He could basically see through it with a glance. Chapter 1492. Feng Qiu Zun listened to Yi Tianyun's explanation and felt a little better. Thinking about it, it really made sense. Even if the grade wasn't low, it wasn't as fast as being familiar with this place. If one was very familiar with this place, they wouldn't even need to look and would be able to walk through. If it was an ordinary god engraver, they would need to look for a period of time before they could see the problem. Alright, I was thinking too much. Feng Qiu Zun was full of regret. She had thought that Yi Tianyun was playing with her, but it seemed that she was thinking too much. Then they continued to walk forward. The environment here was very ordinary, there was nothing special. There were passages in all directions, but they didn't know where they led to. The structure map that Yi Tianyun had obtained before was meaningless here, it didn't matter at all. That was limited to Revered Dragon Shrine. This area couldn't be considered Revered Dragon Shrine, so coming here had nothing to do with him. This shrine is where Uncle lives, the entire shrine is where he lives. Unless we come to play, the other rooms are all empty. Feng Qiu Zun looked around and explained, because this place is a little special, if we want to enter the other rooms, we have to break the restrictions before we can enter. But even if we break it, there's nothing inside, it's just an empty room, that's the biggest loss. Hearing this, everyone was speechless. This wasn't just a loss, it was a huge pit. Each room was locked tightly, they thought that there would be treasures, but after working so hard to break them, they found nothing. Thinking about it made them feel a little sad. The key was to continue breaking the other rooms. If there wasn't anything in this room, maybe there would be in other rooms. So after continuously breaking and finding no treasures, that kind of feeling was definitely driving them crazy. Now if not for Feng Qiu Zun's reminder, they really would have suffered a loss. Even if Yi Tianyun could break them, it would take some effort. So after breaking, if there were no treasures, even Yi Tianyun wanted to beat someone up. Then where is the real control center? Yi Tianyun asked. Go this way, go down in a more secluded area to reach it. Actually, The artifact spirit has already noticed us entering, but it won't attack us. That's because this area isn't part of the important area. Once we reach the important area, they'll definitely attack us. Venerable Feng Qiu said solemnly, when we enter the important area, we will be attacked immediately, everyone please be prepared. They nodded their heads vigorously and became alert. The energy in their bodies circulated rapidly and they were ready to fight at any time. Under Feng Qiuzun's lead, they went around a long walkway, and did not walk on the central path. The path in the middle seemed to be the correct path. In reality, that path was indeed the correct one. However, their true purpose was to suppress the artifact spirit and subdue it. As long as they could subdue the artifact spirit, everything here would belong to them. Why would they need to search through them one by one? After making a few turns and stepping into a large hall, a voice immediately came from the side. "Intruder, leave quickly. If you continue to enter, you will die." The voice came from the side, but it also seemed to come from the other side, reverberating in the hall, filled with majesty. Without a doubt, this was the voice of the artifact spirit, and it had chosen to warn the intruders. If they still insisted on entering, they would definitely attack. "Senior artifact spirit, do you still remember me?" Venerable Feng Qiu walked over, trying to use this identity to make the artifact spirit trust him, and let him pass. "I remember, you are that little girl, Master's relative." The artifact spirit was extremely clear of Venerable Feng Qiu's identity, although it was a long time ago, but he still remembered. "Then I wonder if I can control this shrine?" Venerable Feng Qiu asked. "No, you don't have the right. Only Master has this right. The rest of you, intruders, will die, no matter who you are." The artifact spirit's voice was even louder. It meant that even if it was Venerable Feng Qiu, he would not hesitate to kill them. Even if they were relatives, it was meaningless, they would still be killed. Venerable Feng Qiu immediately felt helpless. It seemed like this method was useless. As expected, it is useless, we can only forcefully break in. Venerable Feng Qiu transmitted her voice to explain, "There are a total of 4 entrances here, there is only one that truly leads to the control area. This one is the leftmost one, the rest are not the correct route. Later, we will charge in, do not tangle with it. There is no use in tangling with the artifact spirit, I believe you all know this, even if we break it, it will quickly reform, and we will not be able to kill it. Unless we have enough strength to seal it, and make it unable to move. But with our current situation, we naturally cannot seal it, we can only choose to charge all the way, and avoid its attacks. When we reach the control area, we will stop it, and then Divine Lord Tian Tian will forcefully control it, that is the general plan." Venerable Feng Qiu briefly explained the plan. What she said was the most useful, was naturally which path was the correct path. "No problem." All of them nodded, indicating that they already knew the plan. Their gazes were fixed on the leftmost path. They would charge in with their fastest speed, and at the same time block the attacks of the artifact spirit. "Charge!" Venerable Feng Qiu ordered, and led the charge, her speed rising to the fastest. Yi Tianyun and the rest followed closely behind, rushing out from the path. Just as they rushed out, light arrays quickly appeared on the surrounding walls, and light swords extended out from the light arrays. In an instant, the entire shrine seemed to have turned into a hedgehog, with countless light swords covering the entire area, including the ground. "Open!" Venerable Feng Qiu had already prepared a wooden zither in her hands, and upon seeing the light swords that appeared, she suddenly plucked the zither, and with a wong sound, countless golden light blades swept out, forcefully opening a path in front of them. At the same time, all the light swords shot out from all directions. Each one of them was extremely sharp, as if they wanted to nail the invaders to this place. Dang dang dang, Yi Tianyun and the rest quickly brandished their weapons, blocking the light swords, and rushed forward. The extremely dense light swords immediately gave them quite a bit of pressure. The number of light swords were too dense, and the important thing was that their power was not weak. Each move was equivalent to the early stage of a middle-level Sky Sovereign, or even the middle stage standard. Chapter 1493. Countless light swords seemed like they did not need energy, constantly flinging over. It was not that these light swords did not need energy, but that this temple had gathered an unknown amount of energy here. It had long been fully absorbed, and could continue erupting for many years. Hence, wanting to wait for it to run out of energy, that was something impossible. Even if it was exhausted to death, it would probably not even exhaust half. Especially since they could not maintain this state for too long. Along the way, they joined hands, constantly blocking the light swords that attacked over. The power was not small, but their strength was also not weak. Especially after Yi Tianyun broke through, his strength was even more powerful, able to block even more attacks, much easier than before. In terms of overall strength, Yi Tianyun was basically equivalent to late-stage Middle Empyrean level. Blocking these light swords was still not much of a problem. Under their collective defense, all attacks were blocked outside, forming an absolute defense. After a bout of killing, they finally killed their way into the passageway ahead. But after killing in, the attacks did not weaken, but instead became even more frenzied. More light formations lit up all around the passageway once more. Divine lightning started to emerge from the walls, directly augmenting the light swords, transforming into numerous divine lightning light sword. The attack method did not change much, but the power increased substantially. This time, there were piles of lightning bolts inside, and they kept bombarding the area. The power rose from the original middle-level Empyrean level to the attack of early-stage upper Empyrean level. Immediately, they felt the pressure multiply, the difficulty of blocking increased by a level. Light Moon, Empyrean Feng Qiu flicked her finger, a ring flying out from her hand, transforming into an enormous bright moon, enveloping the surroundings. This ring was actually a defensive Empyrean spirit treasure, and it was even an upper Empyrean spirit treasure. The enormous bright moon turned into a shield by the side, constantly blocking the attacks. Virtually the majority of the attacks were blocked by her. Along with wave after wave of impact, her energy consumption was astonishing, her complexion becoming slightly pale. Most of the attacks were blocked by her. How could the consumption be low? Hurry, hurry, hurry. Empyrean Feng Qiu gritted her teeth. She was already going all out, there was already no way out now. Even if she retreated, she would be attacked. Moreover, they did not plan on retreating from the start, but charged forward. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others didn't hold back either. They had already taken out all sorts of upper Heavenly Venerate spiritual treasures and used them to resist the lightning swords. This passageway was not long. Normally, it would only take a short while to pass through. Now, it was as if he was walking on a muddy road. His movements became extremely slow, and he felt as if this road was extremely long. Finally, after passing through this passageway, they saw the true core of this place, the control core. The control core was very simple. There was a ball of light embedded in the center of the light array. Even with the protection of the barrier, it was still not an easy task. This was especially true for the core region. There was even a very powerful lightning power revolving around it. Terrifying divine lightning circled around the shrine. The power of this divine thunder was just like the divine thunder in the black clouds outside. It had the power of a mid to late upper Heavenly Venerate. Those with low cultivation would be turned into charcoal the moment they stepped in. This was similar to what happened to Yi Tianyun. After being struck, he immediately turned into charcoal. This was the most crucial area. How could it be undefended? Basically, the defenses here were all top-notch. They swept a quick glance, their hearts turning cold. The difficulty here was more than just high. It was simply at a heaven-defying level. The grand array that your uncle set up is really ruthless enough. Yi Tianyun swept a glance. For the time being, disregarding the difficulty of breaking the grand array in the center, just the attacks outside were already rather dangerous. Yes, in a while, we'll open up the path with all our might and erupt with our strongest power. Breaking this grand array will depend on you. Heavenly Venerate Feng Qiu threw out all three of her Empyrean spirit treasures. The rest did the same, all erupting with their strongest power. From the start until now, they had been constantly in a state of being attacked. How could they possibly stop? They couldn't even catch a breath. If they were unable to break it, then they would die here. This was no joke. Either they succeeded or they died. There was no third choice. If there was a third choice, that would be to escape now. Perhaps there would still be a chance. Other than that, There was no other choice. Especially after charging in. After charging in, it was like facing the attacks of several upper-level Empyreans. It was fine to resist for a while, but it was impossible to resist for too long. No problem. Yi Tianyun agreed. Breaking this grand array was not a problem. As long as he was given enough time, he would be able to take it down. Charred. Heavenly Venerate Feng Qiu started. She had always chosen to start, but her overall strength was indeed the strongest. Naturally, she was the vanguard. Just as they charged out, a phantom appeared from the ball of light. It floated in midair and looked at them coldly. I didn't think that you would dare barge into the forbidden area. Even if you are Master's relative, you will still die. This is the rule. No one can change it. The artifact spirit that appeared waved its hand. The interior of the shrine was quickly shrouded by thick black clouds. Divine lightning flickered in the sky. Following that, a bolt of divine lightning struck down fiercely towards them. This artifact spirit could use the divine lightning in the surroundings at any time. The power of each move was comparable to a middle or late-level Empyrean. It was truly shocking. But the effect was definitely not as strong as Heavenly Venerate Long Yun's. But the overall power was still rather terrifying. Kaboom! A heavy bolt of divine lightning struck down, causing Heavenly Venerate Feng Qiu to retreat a few steps. The bright moon around her trembled from the strike, as though it was about to fall. I'll help you. Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others quickly blocked it. Following that, they withstood the divine lightning that struck down. Step by step, it was extremely difficult. Yi Tianyun was surrounded in the center. He didn't even need to do anything. He just needed to follow along. His main goal was to break the grand array. Thus, he had to conserve his strength. When the time came, he would directly erupt and break the grand array. Because of their good coordination, there was no problem in persevering to the side of the grand array. When the artifact spirit saw this, it was anxious. But it could only use this little bit of power. It could not use any stronger. Even so, it was already enough for them to suffer. Dense bolts of divine lightning struck down, charring the surface of their bodies. Chapter 1494. With the help of Yi Tianyun's voodoo wood divine set, their condition had greatly improved. Although their bodies were still constantly injured, their condition had been greatly alleviated. At least, they could hold on. As they walked forward with difficulty, they slowly began to approach the large array. Step by step, they finally arrived at the edge of the large array. At this time, the weapon spirit's attack had also increased to its most ferocious effect. The divine thunder became more and more concentrated, and the booming sound spread throughout the entire temple. The pressure on them doubled again. They did not expect the weapon spirit to be able to erupt with such terrifying power in the end. However, it was too late. They were already at the edge. Yi Tianyun quickly took a step forward and quickly began to break the large array. Crazy divine seal mode. The breaking speed of 128 times erupted, and the small divine seals began to disintegrate rapidly. The terrifying breaking speed was displayed once again. No matter how many times they saw it, they were still deeply shocked. The breaking speed was just too fast. It was like breaking a first-grade divine seal. Otherwise, how could it be so easy? In fact, the divine seals that were broken were all 6th grade, and the difficulty was not low. Under normal circumstances, it would take a long time to get rid of it. Now, it only took a short while to successfully break them. The breaking speed of 128 times was not a joke. Yi Tianyun's breaking speed was very fast, but there were too many areas to break. No matter how fast he was, he would still need several hours to successfully break them. However, in their current condition, it was really a nightmare for them to persist for several hours. Fortunately, Yi Tianyun could use the voodoo wood divine set to heal their injuries as he broke them. Otherwise, they would not have been able to persist. This guy is too crazy. Junior brother, hurry up. They gritted their teeth and constantly resisted the divine thunder. The feeling of the power of thunder and lightning flowing through their bodies was not pleasant at all. Their bodies were charred black. After recovering a little, they would be charred black again. This repeated over and over again, it was simply uncomfortable. Yi Tianyun's speed had long been raised to the extreme. Unless his grade increased again, he would not be able to increase his speed at all. Otherwise, he would not be able to increase his speed even if he wanted to. Soon, hold on a little longer. Yi Tianyun's forehead was already dripping with sweat. He had also raised his mental power to the maximum, and the consumption was equally shocking. Everyone present had used all of their strength. Otherwise, they would not have been able to withstand it. As time passed, Celestial Lord Sword Sai and the others started to be unable to resist. Even with the amazing Voodoo Wood Divine set, they couldn't hold on for too long. This was the attack of a mid to late stage upper Empyrean. They weren't unmatched, similarly having flesh bodies. If not for Yi Tianyun's treatment, he would have been lying on the ground. Right now, they were relying on pure willpower to persevere, but willpower could not make them invincible. At most, they could persevere for a while before completely collapsing. Dong dong! Celestial Venerable Sword Sai and Celestial Venerable Dragon Cry were struck by a bolt of divine lightning and fell to the side, fainting between them. With two fewer people blocking them, the pressure on Heavenly Venerate Yu Qian and the others increased dramatically. Looking at this situation, Yi Tianyun did not even succeed in cracking it, and they would completely collapse. The current situation already greatly exceeded the scope of their expectations. In their previous judgment, they should be able to persevere. Looking at it now, there was already no such possibility. How much more? Celestial Venerable Feng Qiu said solemnly. Give me another hour, and I can completely crack it. But how much time will be needed inside, I can't say. But overall, persevere for 2 hours, we should be able to take it down. Yi Tianyun did not dare to say that he could definitely take it down. The Grand Array outside could definitely be taken down, but how to force it to recognize a master inside, this was more difficult. The time needed was hard to say. Some needed several days, even a few months. Yi Tianyun saying that he needed an hour to take down this core, no one would believe it even if he said it out. No matter what, this treasure belonged to an upper Empyrean spirit treasure. A divine lord saying that he could take down an upper Empyrean spirit treasure, they really did not believe it. But they believed in Yi Tianyun's words, that he could definitely take down this core within an hour. Moreover, looking at the current situation, they could only choose to believe. Otherwise, there would be no chance. All right. Venerable Feng Qiu quickly closed her eyes, and then suddenly opened them. 2 rays of light shot out from her beautiful eyes, and her pupils quickly turned white. In that instant, her power was released to the maximum, and the light core in her body completely erupted. A full 7th grade core, how could its power be weak? After erupting, her combat power rose sharply, continuously multiplying by several times. The Empyrean spirit treasures in her hands seemed to have been injected with chicken blood, their defensive power once again increased by several times, all of them buzzing. In such a state, the divine lightning could not strike down at all. It formed an absolute defense, protecting them firmly. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others were stunned. They did not think that Venerable Feng Qiu could still erupt with such terrifying power. If it was an explosive attack, even an upper Empyrean late-stage powerhouse would be easily killed. Yi Tianyun finally saw Venerable Feng Qiu's explosive power. Previously, when he wanted to deal with Empyrean Wo Xing and the others, he wanted to erupt with such power. If he had not stopped her, Venerable Feng Qiu would have erupted. This level of power was truly an absolute trump card. Vaguely, Yi Tianyun could feel a special power from it, an indescribable power. I can only hold on for 2 hours, I won't be able to hold on any longer and will lose consciousness. If I need more time, I'll have to rely on you guys. Venerable Feng Qiu was like a goddess descending to the mortal world, halos flickered on her body, forming rings of halos that shrouded her, looking extremely beautiful. She could only hold on for 2 hours in this state. At that time, Yi Tianyun would not be able to seize control, and it would be up to Empyrean Yu Qian and the others to resist. Empyrean Swordsea and the others could all take a breather at this time, and could quickly recover under the Voodoo Wood Divine set. But they still needed to recover for a period of time before they could regain their combat power. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others nodded, indicating that they understood. At that time, They would also risk everything to resist this divine lightning. Venerable Feng Qiu had a trump card, Empyrean Yu Qian and the others also had a trump card, but it was still much weaker than Venerable Feng Qiu. This was a true explosive power. The originally terrifying divine lightning was unable to seep in at all. It was enough to see how terrifying it was. Enough. Chapter 1495. After Venerable Feng Qiu exploded, everything became relaxed. She felt that there was no pressure at all of it had disappeared. Yi Tianyun focused on breaking it. His speed was still the same as before. It should be said that he could not be fast in the first place. He could not be fast even if he wanted to. This was his limit. How could he still be fast? As time passed, almost an hour later, under his final point, the great formation was finally broken by him. Bang! The sturdy shield outside was pierced through just like that, revealing the crucial core inside. When everyone saw this, they were instantly overjoyed. They had finally broken through the final barrier. As long as they could forcefully control this core, everything would come to an end. The Dragon Sovereign Shrine would belong to Yi Tianyun. No one would be able to invade this place. Whoever he wanted to scram could scram. Continue. Yi Tianyun was not the least bit happy. As long as it was not completely over, he would not be in the mood to be happy. He slapped the core with one hand. It was actually a ball of light, an upper-level Empyrean spirit treasure. It was just that it was fixed here, and through the great formation here, it spread to the entire shrine. If not for this great formation, this upper-level Empyrean spirit treasure would naturally not be able to display its strongest effect. When he slapped the core, an impact surged out from within the core, sending him flying. Fortunately, Venerable Feng Qiu's eyes and hands were quick. She immediately dragged him back, and he was not sent flying. What a strong power! As expected, the core was still held back. Yi Tianyun felt that on the surface, there was still Empyrean Dragon Sovereign's power. After breaking through the barrier, there was still Empyrean Dragon Sovereign's power. It was not so easy to break through. The recoil just now had directly broken his hand. But after a little recovery, it was easily healed. The healing effect of the Voodoo Wood Divine Set on his body would be even more astonishing. Do you feel that it will succeed? Venerable Feng Qiu asked. There is difficulty, but as long as this energy is dispersed, there will be no problem. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed. He planned to absorb all the energy. As long as he absorbed this energy, the rest of the work would be much easier. Venerable Feng Qiu nodded. She also felt that this method was feasible. But could Yi Tianyun withstand this power? Yi Tianyun grabbed the core and quickly absorbed it. Just like before, when he grabbed it, he felt a rebounding force shoot out from the core. However, this time, he was prepared. His hand gripped the core tightly and began to frantically absorb it, forcibly extracting the energy within it into his body. Ding, received 100 points of compressed experience, 150 points of compressed experience, 200 points of compressed experience. After absorbing it, it quickly transformed into experience and flowed into his body. This value was quite good. To him, there was no such thing as absorbing too much. It was impossible for his body to explode. He would only worry about not absorbing enough. However, according to the current situation, it would take a little longer to absorb. This energy was not something that could be drained so easily. I'll help too. Heavenly Lord Sword Sai and the rest had more or less recovered by now, so they came over to help. In any case, Empyrean Feng Qiu alone was enough to withstand all the attacks, so Empyrean Yu Qian and the others could absorb it together. Following that, they all came over and grabbed the ball of light, forcefully extracting the energy. However, it was very different from Yi Tianyun. Yi Tianyun's absorption was equivalent to his own cultivation, but they were unable to absorb it as experience. They could only release it out of their bodies after absorbing it. Yi Tianyun did not mind this. What he was pursuing now was speed, and not to earn experience here. If he wanted to earn experience, he might as well go out and kill Empyreans. The experience gained there was much more than here, especially after stacking the experience card. This little bit of experience was not enough. After everyone joined in, the absorption speed increased significantly. The artifact spirit at the side was extremely anxious. However, its attacks had long lost their effect, and had no effect on Empyrean Feng Qiu's defense. Unless the power continued to increase by a large amount, it would be meaningless. As they frantically absorbed, the ball of light quickly dimmed. Seeing this situation, everyone knew that if they continued to absorb, the small protective barrier outside would be completely absorbed. Just a little more. Everyone was overjoyed, and felt that they were about to break through. Stacking layers upon layers of things was really troublesome. But they could only break through like this, there was no other way. Following that, everyone gathered their strength and fiercely absorbed the energy. After absorbing it, with a pang, the outermost protective barrier shattered, and completely exposed the ball of light. Now the last step was to subdue the artifact spirit. But before they could rejoice for too long, a gigantic pit suddenly appeared beneath their feet, and sucked them in. The terrifying suction force, before they could react, they had already been sucked in. The main thing was that it was too sudden, none of them had thought that there would be a huge pit beneath their feet, and they would all be sucked in. The moment they fell in, the ground quickly closed up, once again being imprinted with layers of divine seals. It was extremely secure, and there was no way to break it. The room that was filled with attacks regained its peace. Luckily Master had a trick up his sleeve. The artifact spirit looked at the ground and said solemnly. At the same time, Yi Tianyun and the rest felt themselves being crazily sucked in. The strong suction force made them unable to pull themselves back. When they flew again, they were unable to stop the suction force. It's the spatial suction force, there's actually a broken space below. If we are sucked in, if we are unlucky, we will be transported to a dangerous region. If we are lucky, we will be transported to a better unknown region. Very quickly, they immediately sensed what the thing with the terrifying suction force below was. Your uncle is too ruthless, I didn't think there would be such a setup. Yi Tianyun wanted to curse, it really was layers upon layers, and now he had even dug a huge pit for them, and was preparing to send them away. As to where they would be sent to, he wasn't sure. Perhaps it would take several years for them to return, or even decades, or even centuries. If they were sent to an even more dangerous region, then forget about returning, they would die there. I don't know. Feng Qiuzun was stunned, she hadn't thought there would be such a setup, she had never seen it before. Chapter 1496. With their current abilities, they should be able to escape from the turbulent space flow. But there was only this passageway around, and no other passageway. This meant that they could either break through the wall or be sucked in, there was no other choice. But how could this passageway be easily destroyed, and there were layers of defensive formations all around, how could it be easily destroyed? Even if it was destroyed, it would take a long time. They could not hold on for too long in such a state, they would definitely be sucked in. It's over. Venerable Feng Qiu's eyes were filled with despair. In the end, everything was for naught. It's not over. Yi Tianyun's eyes were filled with determination as he stared at the wall in front of him, his powerful spiritual sense piercing forward, striking the seal and slowly seeping in. As long as his spiritual sense could penetrate this seal, he would be able to teleport everyone over with his teleportation. But the seal on the wall was really thick, he really could not penetrate it in a short time. Then he gritted his teeth. Grab me, and hold on at the same time, just a while is enough. Without any hesitation, Yu Qian and the rest grabbed onto Yi Tianyun, each of them grabbing onto his hands and feet, flying forward at the same time, sticking close to the wall. Venerable Feng Qiu was startled, not knowing what this meant, but she still chose to grab onto Yi Tianyun. After all, Yu Qian and the rest had already done this, she naturally would not refuse. It was just that she was curious why they did this. Even if they could break through this seal, it was extremely difficult. They were constantly being pulled back, and it was already very good to be able to prevent themselves from being sucked in. As for breaking through, it was too difficult. If they were not sucked in, they might have a chance to break through. Now that they were being sucked in, they could not even stand properly. How could they break through this wall? While she was feeling puzzled, Yi Tianyun locked onto the seal in front of him, and under his swift piercing, he finally squeezed into the outside environment. This was really not easy, but compared to the outermost door, it was much better. The outermost door was the one that spiritual sense could not penetrate, Otherwise he could directly enter and teleport in, there would be no need to destroy it one by one. The two were not on the same level, this place was a little more fragile, but not very fragile, at least it was enough for spiritual sense to pass through. Pass to me. Yi Tianyun's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, everyone disappeared from this space. In the next moment, they all appeared in the center of the divine hall from before, with the ball of light beside them. When Feng Qiuzun saw it, she was stunned. He was clearly trapped in that passageway just now. How did he come back now? I was almost sucked in. See how I'll deal with you this time. Yi Tianyun extended his hand and patted the sphere of light. Next, the lightning core within his body began to revolve and a violent power rapidly flowed into the sphere. Without Heavenly Venerate Dragon Fate's protective barrier, it would be much easier this time. After he entered, he immediately felt a repulsive force gushing over. Actually, it was just the violent divine thunder that wanted to chase the intruder out. At this time, it was time to use the lightning core. With the lightning core, it would undoubtedly be able to withstand this power. If he didn't, the difficulty of blocking it would be greatly increased. Now that the power of the divine thunder surged out, it was rapidly absorbed by him. At the same time, a portion of the energy overflowed, causing his body to be charred by the electricity. Of course, overall, it was still beneficial. His experience points began to rise rapidly. Every time he could obtain thousands of compressed experience points, it was really quite refreshing. Combined with experience cards and the like, the effect was undoubtedly even more astonishing. And using the Voodoo Wood Divine set, everything was still considered balanced. The key point was that the artifact spirit was dumbfounded, completely dumbfounded. It had not even reacted to what was going on. Originally, it had already left this place to check the situation in other areas. Who knew that everything would be so sudden? Suddenly, the ball of light was controlled, and a steady stream of energy gushed in. Based on this situation, it would still take a period of time to completely control it. It was so frightened that it immediately returned. When it saw that Yi Tianyun and the others were still standing there unharmed, it momentarily forgot to activate the surrounding great array. You intruders, how could you possibly return? After the artifact spirit reacted, it quickly controlled the surrounding great array, once again attracting the divine thunder to attack. If Yi Tianyun and the others destroyed the wall and returned, it would definitely be able to react. Who knew that without any reaction, its body would be invaded by the energy? You don't need to care about this, just obediently be controlled. Empyrean Yu Qian and the others laughed loudly, starting to resist with all their might. This little junior brother of theirs was really powerful. He had no abilities, he was simply omnipotent. At such a crucial moment, they were still able to turn the tables. It should be said that until the end, they did not even know if they would lose. Venerable Feng Qiu was puzzled as she resisted. Until now, she still did not understand what was going on. How did Yi Tianyun do this? Could it be teleportation? Such a terrifying teleportation, could it ignore the divine seal and the like, and teleport in? Yi Tianyun is too lazy to care about what they think, he is concentrating on controlling it. Seeing that it was being suppressed bit by bit, according to this situation, it indeed did not need an hour to be able to control it. Under Venerable Feng Qiu's resistance, she finally fainted, her energy exhausted. This was the result. Immediately, Empyrean Yu Qian and the others stepped forward, each of them erupting with their strongest power. If they could hold on until the last moment, it would be their victory. Just a little more. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a cold light, just a little more and he would have succeeded. No. The artifact spirit roared, but the roar did not increase the power. It was still the same as before. Wang. Following that, the ball of light began to flicker, and the surrounding divine lightning instantly disappeared. Everything returned to normal, without any change. If not for the surrounding charred black, it really would have been as if nothing had happened. Following that, the artifact spirit flew down, landing beside Yi Tianyun, kneeling down and saying respectfully, "Master." Yi Tianyun nodded and said, "Good, guard this temple for me, at the same time, trap that Empyrean Hua Xing, we will treat him well later." "Yes, Master." The artifact spirit quickly disappeared, going to deal with Empyrean Hua Xing, Empyrean Yu Qian, and the others all slumped to the ground, their bodies already charred black, looking terrible. It's finally over. This ancient Empyrean temple has finally been conquered by us. Yes, this is the first time we have conquered an ancient Empyrean temple. We are finally not picking up other people's leftovers. Chapter 1497. After Yi Tianyun had successfully subdued the artifact spirit, the entire Dragon Sovereign Shrine had become his property. Not just the shrine here, but the other shrines outside had also become his property. Although the artifact spirit would only attack those who invaded here, it did not mean that it could not control the areas outside. It could still control the areas outside. It was just that before Heavenly Lord Dragon Fate had left, he had ordered the artifact spirit to mainly protect this area. To him, what he truly cared about was this place. As for the areas outside, he could ignore them. This way, whoever Yi Tianyun wanted to chase out could be chased out. With a master, it was very easy to control, and its power would increase by a lot. Especially when he handed control over to Feng Qiuzun, the power would definitely increase greatly. Feng Qiuzun was an Empyrean. He was not even an Empyrean. Without the power of a powerful Empyrean, he was unable to display the strongest effect. Thus breaking through to the Empyrean level was something he could not delay. He had to quickly break through to the Empyrean level. Now was the best time. After taking control of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine, he could easily eradicate some of the intruders, especially the powerhouses of the Myriad Heaven God Realm and the Saint Peak God Realm. It was very reasonable to eradicate them. Looks like she won't wake up for a while. Yi Tianyun saw that Feng Qiuzun was still unconscious. This was not a coma caused by serious injuries, but a situation caused by excessive exhaustion. In such a situation, a short period of sleep would be fine. But in this period of time, her ability to protect herself would be at its lowest. If she fainted, she would definitely be captured. Thus, Feng Qiuzun would not use this ability unless she had no other choice. In a situation where she had no companions, using it was to choose to escape. This was the most reasonable use. After resting for a while, they all recovered slightly. They had expended too much energy. After meditating for a while, they had basically recovered. With the help of pills and the like, their recovery would definitely not be too slow. It's about time. I've already let the artifact spirit open the other doors. You can all go and plunder the treasures. These treasures are all ours. Yi Tianyun smiled at his senior apprentice brothers, letting them personally plunder. According to the previous agreement, Feng Qiuzun only wanted the shrine and the golden tree. As for the other treasures, they could take as they pleased. I've been waiting for this moment. Little junior brother, aren't you going with us? The moment Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai heard that there were treasures to plunder, he immediately became spirited. Didn't they risk their lives for this treasure? Not for now, I have something to do first. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with a cold light. After that, he disappeared from where he was and headed to another region. Sword Sai, Heavenly Venerable and the rest knew what Yi Tianyun wanted to do, so they didn't care about it. All of them quickly went to search for treasures. At the same time, in a sealed temple, Heavenly Venerate Wise Star constantly slammed the walls, bombarding them with powerful attacks wave after wave. However, he couldn't break through the walls in the slightest. The divine seal on it was even more profound, and he couldn't break it with his ability. Damn it, what's going on? As soon as he entered, he was immediately sealed off. I didn't expect there to be a weapon spirit here. Empyrean Walker Star was incomparably vexed. He had spent a great deal of effort to break open the door and enter, but who knew that not long after, an artifact spirit would suddenly rush out and send him into the sealed temple. He had been trapped here for a period of time, and there was no way to break out at all. Rumble, at this time, the passageway behind him suddenly opened. After a figure entered, it closed again. Empyrean Walker Star, who was originally a little pleasantly surprised in his heart, immediately sank to the bottom after seeing the door close again. It's you, punk. When Empyrean Walker Star saw that the figure that appeared was actually Yi Tianyun, he was immediately enraged in his heart. That's right, it's me. Yi Tianyun walked over step by step, looking at him with narrowed eyes. Ha ha ha, looks like you got lost with your companions and were also trapped here in the end, right? Empyrean Walker Star thought that Yi Tianyun was trapped inside and immediately sneered and said, "Let's see how you escape this time. There's only the two of us left here." "Escape? Why should I escape?" Yi Tianyun said indifferently. "Oh, looks like you're very confident in your strength. If not for Empyrean Feng Qiu and the rest supporting me, do you think I'd be afraid of you?" Empyrean Walker Star flew into a rage and immediately erupted with his upper Empyrean strength, ruthlessly pressuring over here. Facing this pressure, Yi Tianyun didn't feel any pressure at all. His expression was still indifferent. "I'm still very confident in my own strength. However, I don't need to do anything to deal with you." Yi Tianyun gently raised his hand and the artifact spirit appeared beside him. "Master, what instructions do you have?" The artifact spirit directly knelt beside Yi Tianyun, respectfully bowing. After Empyrean Walker Star saw this, he was scared out of his wits. He didn't expect that Yi Tianyun had already become the master of this place. How did you become the master of this place?" Empyrean Walker Star was frightened. He knew how strong the artifact spirit here was. It should be said that this was someone else's territory. If he really did something, he would definitely die without a doubt. What's the point of knowing this? Yi Tianyun walked over step by step and said indifferently, "It's about time to end this. You can make your move now. Attack however you like. Of course, it's not me fighting one-on-one with you. Let this artifact spirit exchange a few moves with you to play." Empyrean Walker Star's expression was ugly. How to play anymore? The artifact spirit was equivalent to the master of this place. He couldn't win even if he wanted to. This little brother, don't be impulsive. I was only targeting Empyrean Feng Qiu previously. I don't have much opinion about you. Furthermore, I didn't provoke you in any way. Everything was a misunderstanding, Empyrean Walker Star hurriedly explained. He didn't want to die here. He still wanted to become a celestial deity, to become the ruler of a generation. Misunderstanding? Yi Tianyun said indifferently, "I don't think there's any misunderstanding between us. Do you know about the new divine realm that came up?" "The new divine realm? You're talking about the divine realm that recently came up from the outer divine realm?" Empyrean Walker Star said doubtfully, "What happened to that divine realm?" "I'm that new divine realm's region lord. You guys are making things difficult for my divine realm at every turn. Is this still a misunderstanding?" Yi Tianyun smiled slightly and raised his hand. "Kill." Empyrean Walker Star was dumbfounded. Only now did he know what Yi Tianyun's true identity was. Turns out that right from the beginning, the grudge was already sowed. Boom boom boom. Chapter 1498. Easily taking care of one. Controlling the environment here is indeed different. Even Yi Tianyun didn't make a move. Why wouldn't he make use of the convenient conditions? Unless he was an idiot, why wouldn't he? What fairness? He didn't care about that. He would use what he needed, without holding back. Time to clean it up. In the next moment, his figure flashed, and he vanished on the spot before appearing in another region. Through the artifact spirit, he could clearly sense how many heavenly venerables and cultivators had entered the shrine. Then, with the appraisal eye, he could easily find out which faction they belonged to. As long as they were from the Myriad Sky Sacred Realm or the Sacred Peak Sacred Realm, he would eliminate them all. No matter what the situation was, he would eliminate them all. As for the other factions, he would deal with them according to the situation. As long as they were companions of the Myriad Sky Sacred Realm, he would eliminate them all. After dealing with them all, the rest would be chased out. The Great Formation was activated, continuously sending them flying. After being sent flying, the cultivators were dumbfounded. They had no idea what was going on. What's going on? Why am I suddenly being ejected? Yeah, I was ejected by a special force. Quick, look. The gate is starting to lock. What's going on? One by one, they saw the door quickly close. Finally, with a loud dong sound, the temple was completely sealed, and no one could enter. Unless they destroyed the gate, they wouldn't be able to enter. They looked at each other, not knowing what was going on. They had been chased out for no reason. I suspect that this place already has a master. Someone has already entered and become the master. How can that be? Someone succeeded so quickly. How long has it been? And so many people have entered, yet someone has already succeeded. If that's not the case, what else could it be? Now that the gate is locked and everyone has been chased out, it's already benevolent of them not to kill them all. Becoming the master of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine would be a piece of cake for us. But we're lucky that we didn't do it. One by one, they voiced out their own guesses. Usually, when a shrine like this reappeared, it would only close down after it had a master. It was just that no one knew who the master was. Because everything happened too quickly, everything ended, making them feel extremely disappointed. They didn't find any treasures and were chased out. If it was anyone else, they wouldn't feel happy. Some cultivators couldn't help but take a detour to see if they could sneak in. They didn't give up and chose to sneak in. However, there was only one exit. As for the exit, it was a matter of the transportation formation, so it couldn't be easily found. Everyone was either looking for an exit or leaving in disappointment. Some of them were discussing which power had occupied the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. Inside, Yi Tianyun had earned a huge amount of experience and looted many treasures. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others placed all the treasures they had plundered in front of them. There were many Heavenly Venerate treasures and high-grade Heavenly Dao treasures. The piles of treasures made them sigh. The ancient Heavenly Venerate treasures were really a lot. No wonder so many cultivators rushed over. If they could get their hands on this pile of treasures, they would have a high chance of breaking through to the sky deity level. There are so many treasures. This is a low-grade Heavenly Venerate treasure, and this is a pretty good 5th-grade elixir. However, the most precious thing is still this bottle of blood. I didn't expect Heavenly Venerate Dragon Fate to leave behind a bottle of his own bloodline. If I had the dragon bloodline, I would definitely be strengthened a lot after absorbing it. Senior Brother Dragon Cry is very good to use. He happens to have the dragon bloodline. After absorbing it, he can greatly enhance his strength. They all agreed that the bloodline was very suitable for Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. Among them, only Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry had displayed the power of the dragon bloodline. Although Yi Tianyun had it, he didn't show it as intensely as Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry. He seemed more reserved. Thus, it was normal that they didn't know that Yi Tianyun also had the dragon bloodline. Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry looked at the bloodline with a burning gaze. He indeed desired this bloodline very much. After absorbing it, he would definitely improve a lot. No, little junior brother has the dragon bloodline. I can still sense that. Heavenly Venerate Dragon Cry smiled and said, the one who contributed the most is still little junior brother. This reward should be obtained by little junior brother. There wasn't much blood in this bottle, only about 2 or 3 drops. These were all blood essence, and it was already very good to have 2 or 3 drops. Its value was indeed comparable to an upper-level Heavenly Venerate treasure. It was considered a relatively top-notch type among so many treasures. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, I do have the dragon bloodline, but it's still more suitable for senior brother. I can just take some other treasures, such as Heavenly Venerate treasures. The rest can be divided among everyone. If not for you guys, I wouldn't have been able to take down this temple. Little junior brother is being humble. We are just manual labor. If it were anyone else, they would also be able to easily replace us. In the end, it's still little junior brother who played a crucial role, being able to break the divine seal and also suppress the artifact spirit. They all approved of Yi Tianyun's credit greatly. What they said was similarly not wrong. Their strength was very strong, but that was all. If it were other upper-level Heavenly Venerates, they could immediately replace their positions. There's no need to say these words anymore. If we find other people, it will also arouse greed. Better be happier with our senior brother. At least, there won't be so many worries. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, it's decided then. Everyone divide these. I'll just casually pick a few. All right, we won't be courteous with little junior brother. Whatever you need us for, we'll definitely move out together. Following little junior brother, you'll definitely have food to eat. They exchanged a glance and all burst out laughing. Since they were family, they would not stand on ceremony. When the time came, they would immediately come over to help. After Yi Tianyun picked a few heavenly venerate level treasures first, he basically did not need the rest. Heavenly venerate level treasures, those that could move him, were relatively few. Those that could help a little more were some heavenly venerate level treasures. As for other medicinal pills and whatnot, the effect was not great to him. What he relied on was experience and not medicinal pills. Consuming these medicinal pills would not increase much experience. This had always been a common problem. Unless it was a special experience pill, otherwise, the effect would all be average. Eating it was like eating for free. The best was to let them eat, the effect would be much better. Chapter 1499. After distributing the spoils of war, Yi Tianyun and the others checked the treasures they had obtained. Heavenly Venerable Dragon Cry immediately began to absorb the bloodline to strengthen himself. Heavenly Venerable Yu Qian and the others absorbed the elixir to cultivate. They were not in a hurry to go out for the time being. They stayed here to meditate. The comprehension from this battle was deeper. They had fought their way here and were on the verge of death several times. This kind of comprehension was very precious. It could improve one's cultivation. Therefore, they all took this opportunity to meditate and cultivate, absorbing the insights they had gained this time. Yi Tianyun had nothing to do. He did not need to comprehend anything. He only needed to accumulate enough experience to level up. Now that he had killed a large number of Heavenly Venerables, he finally had enough experience to break through to Heavenly Venerable. After all, he had killed so many Heavenly Venerables before. After becoming the owner of this place, he had cleaned up a large number of powerhouses. The experience he had earned was finally enough to break through to Heavenly Venerable. Now that he had calmed down, he turned his attention to breaking through to Heavenly Venerable. I'm finally going to break through to Heavenly Venerable. Yi Tianyun was still a little excited. If he broke through to Heavenly Venerable, his overall strength would have a qualitative leap. Especially since he could condense his own Heavenly Venerable spirit treasure and use it to strengthen himself. Senior brothers, I'm going to break through to Heavenly Venerable first. You guys stay here and cultivate. Yi Tianyun smiled. If Heavenly Venerable Feng Qiu wakes up, tell her that I'm going to break through. He broke through to Heavenly Venerable so quickly. They were shocked. Unknowingly, their little junior brother was about to break through to the Heavenly Venerable level. It's not considered fast. Then I'll go break through first. Yi Tianyun flew away after saying that, leaving behind the shocked senior brothers. If little junior brother breaks through to Heavenly Venerable, won't he be able to easily defeat upper Heavenly Venerables? That's not a problem. He'll definitely be the most heaven-defying Heavenly Venerable in history. They trembled, feeling that a monstrous Heavenly Venerable was about to be born. After flying out, Yi Tianyun found an empty space and began to break through. Break through to Heavenly Venerable. Ding. Beginning breakthrough to Heavenly Lord. Progress is currently at 0. After a huge chunk of experience was deducted, he successfully broke through to the Heavenly Venerable realm. Of course, he wouldn't be able to break through immediately. He would still have to pass the Heavenly Tribulation before he could officially break through to the Heavenly Venerate level. To reach such a great realm, one had to experience a Heavenly Tribulation. It was the same for a Heavenly Venerable to break through to the Heavenly God realm. They both needed to experience a terrifying Heavenly Tribulation. The difficulty was the same as before. They had to intercept a bunch of inferior Heavenly Venerables or Divine Sovereigns. Strength did not mean that one would break through. It was very likely that one would fall, and the probability of that happening was not small. Boom. The terrifying Heavenly Tribulation began to spread outwards, rushing towards the periphery of the Dragon Sovereign Temple. Following that, circles of light were released one after another. This kind of light was connected to the Earth Monarch. This meant that there would be as many halos as there were Earth Refinement Lord. The more halos there were, the more difficult it would be. This connection would continue until he broke through to the Heavenly Deity realm. Because the Earth Sovereign level was extremely important, he could not afford to be careless. If he wanted to have higher achievements, he would need to be at least at the 7th or 8th refinement of the Earth Monarch realm. Otherwise, his future potential would be extremely limited. But correspondingly, the difficulty would become even higher. Yi Tianyun was a 10 refinements Earth monarch, the number 1 Earth monarch throughout the ages. This meant that he had 10 circles of heavenly tribulation that would continuously appear in the air. After the circles superimposed, the difficulty increased crazily. With each increase in circle, the difficulty increased by several times. This kind of situation immediately attracted the attention of the cultivators outside. At the same time, it also included the attention of Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others. Speaking of which, I wonder what level little junior brother will reach. Is it 7 refinements Earth Monarch, 8 refinements Earth Monarch, or 9 refinements Earth Monarch? It's definitely 9 refinements Earth Monarch. If not, how can he have such strength? That's true. No matter what, his 9 refinements Earth Monarch. If 9 refinements Earth Monarch breaks through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, then he's really strong enough. He can be considered an upper-level Heavenly Venerable. They expressed their agreement and felt that it was more or less like this. When the cultivators outside saw that someone broke through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, they were all very curious. Someone broke through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm? And he broke through in the temple? Looks like he had some fortuitous encounter. Otherwise, how could he break through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm? Breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm should be in the bag. Thinking back when I broke through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm, I didn't know how much effort it took. I almost died. Each and every one of them revealed envious gazes. They felt very envious of Yi Tianyun who broke through in the temple. Especially Divine Lords. Most Divine Lords didn't have the confidence to break through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm. The difficulty was too high. How could they dare to mess around? No matter what, they had to cultivate a little longer before choosing to break through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm. Only then would they have a little confidence and increase the success rate. While they were talking, the halo quickly superimposed to the 8th level and continued to superimpose to the 9th level. After everyone saw it, they all sighed again. I said that little junior brother would break through because of 9 refinements Earth Monarch. However, although the difficulty is high, isn't it still easy for little junior brother? Yes, for a normal 9 refinements Earth Monarch, this kind of heavenly tribulation is considered a narrow escape, but for little junior brother, the difficulty isn't high. Quickly look, it's actually a 9 refinements Earth Monarch who broke through. He's really a great genius. If he successfully breaks through, he can immediately become an upper-level Heavenly Venerable Realm. I didn't expect it to be a genius. I wonder which faction is he from? When they saw this level of heavenly tribulation, the cultivators who originally wanted to leave stopped one after another and watched Yi Tianyun transcend the tribulation at the side. This kind of scene wasn't considered rare. From time to time, there would be Divine Lords breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable Realm. However, heavenly tribulation of 9 levels of difficulty was still very rare. Just when everyone thought that there was only 9 levels of difficulty, suddenly, a huge halo of light surged over from the void, and the colorful light illuminated their eyes. Immediately, everyone was stunned. When they reacted, they suspected if their eyes were playing tricks on them. 10th level of difficulty. There was actually a 10th level of difficulty. Didn't it mean that it was a 10 refinements Earth Monarch? The problem was that there was such a saying as 10 refinements Earth Monarch. Everyone was dumbfounded. Whether it was the outer divine realm or the inner divine realm, they all believed that 9 refinements Earth Monarch was the limit. Now that a 10 refinements Earth Monarch popped out, it really made them dumbfounded. Little junior brother, he, Heavenly Venerable Swordsman and the others were still talking cheerfully. When they suddenly saw this scene, all of them were dumbfounded. What did 10 refinements Earth Monarch mean? Chapter 1500. Unique throughout the ages. The 10th refinement Earth Monarch was definitely the only one throughout the ages. This was the first time they had seen the heavenly tribulation of a 10th refinement Earth Monarch. Compared to the 9th layer of difficulty, it was more than 10 times harder. The terrifying power spread out into the surroundings, and space was continuously blasted apart by the tribulation lightning. At the same time, it turned into countless lightning dragons that shuttled through space. The terrifying power continued to increase, causing many cultivators to feel a great sense of pressure. All of them could sense a dangerous aura permeating the air. 10 levels of difficulty. There's even a saying of the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. Impossible, right? Does the 10 refinement Earth Monarch really exist? I used to joke about it. I've seen the heavenly tribulation of the 9 refinements Earth Monarch. It's only 9 stages of difficulty. Now that it's 10 stages of difficulty, it can only be the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. They were all going crazy, wondering if their eyes were playing tricks on them. Some of them quickly informed their companions and asked them to rush over to take a look. This was a rare occurrence. It should be said that it had never happened before. They did not know if there had been such a thing in the past, at least not now, but it was definitely the only one. After the numerous Empyreans spread the news, it quickly spread. After all the Empyrean powerhouses found out about it, they were all shocked. Even the heavenly gods were dumbfounded when they found out. There's even a saying of the 10 refinements Earth Monarch. That's impossible. Whether it's true or not, we'll know once we go and take a look. One by one, the Empyrean powerhouses tore open the void and flew towards the ruins. Originally, they didn't plan on going to the ruins, but now that a miracle had appeared, they all headed over. Even the heavenly gods went there together. Heavenly gods weren't interested in this sort of thing, and even more so didn't want to get involved in Empyrean level battles. Unless there was something important, they wouldn't go. Now, they had no choice but to move and check out the situation. He wanted to see how a 10 refinement Earth Monarch broke through, and he wanted to know how a 10 refinement Earth Monarch successfully cultivated. If it could be popularized, it would definitely reach a heaven-defying level. They might not be able to use it, but their own disciples, as well as the many new disciples under them, could all make use of it. This was definitely a method that would drive people crazy. If it was any other place, it would drive people crazy. Yi Tianyun was very clear about this matter. If this matter were to spread out, everyone would definitely be jealous. No matter who it was, they would use any means necessary to obtain it. 10 refinements Earth Monarch was something that had never happened before. How could it not be important? One had to know that a 9th refinement Earth Monarch was already heaven-defying. What about a 10th refinement Earth Monarch? That was the creation of a whole new era. The Empyreans and heavenly deities all went crazy, all of them quickly sending people to investigate. Who exactly had this level of skill? It was crazy outside, and it was the same inside. Little junior brother is a 10 refinements Earth Monarch, too terrifying, no wonder he can jump levels to battle. Just this foundation of the 10 refinements Earth Monarch realm, when he breaks through to the God Monarch realm, he will definitely be a level ahead of others. Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai was stunned. This difference was very obvious, especially in the later stages. For example, when a 9th refinement Earth Monarch broke through to a Divine Monarch, if the opponent was an 8th refinement Earth Monarch, let alone a 1st level Divine Monarch, even a 2nd level Divine Monarch would be beaten up. If a 7th refinement Earth Monarch broke through to the God Monarch realm, even a God Monarch level 3 would be hung up and beaten. As for 4th level God Monarchs, he could even contend with them. As for the breakthroughs of the 6th refinement Earth Monarch, there was even less to say. The impact was extremely deep. Therefore, if one broke through to the 10th refinement Earth Monarch, the effect would be even more obvious. Under normal circumstances, when a 9th refinement Earth Monarch broke through to the peak of the God Monarch realm, he would be able to fight against a lower-level Heavenly Venerable, and he could even fight against a middle-level Heavenly Venerable for a long time. This was the difference. Therefore, one could imagine how great the impact of a 10th refinement Earth Monarch would be. But even if it's a 10th refinement Earth Monarch, can he jump levels to battle so many levels? It can only be said that he has other abilities. If it's just a 10th refinement Earth Monarch, I believe it definitely won't work. Yes, this matter must not be leaked, otherwise, little junior brother will definitely be in danger. They immediately discussed that this matter could not be spread out. If it was known, Yi Tianyun would definitely be captured. At that time, forget about the great devas, even the heaven cultivation god domain would not be able to protect him. After all, this matter would not only affect the 4th grade god domains, even the 5th grade god domains would be affected. At that time, a few heavenly gods would be sent down to capture Yi Tianyun. Who would dare to stop them? Yi Tianyun was completely unaware of these things. He had chosen this place to break through. It was the safest. At the same time, the people here were also the most trustworthy. If he found a corner to break through to the heavenly venerable realm, the commotion of breaking through to the heavenly venerable realm would definitely spread to several god domains. It would be impossible for no one to know. At that time, there would be no protection. He would definitely be discovered, and he might even be captured by the heavenly gods as soon as it ended. It was safer for him to stay in this dragon sovereign shrine. No one could enter. The 10th heaven tribulation quickly formed, and countless lightning dragons rapidly rushed over. The first wave was this terrifying lightning dragon. This heaven tribulation is not difficult for me at all. Yi Tianyun smiled slightly, activating his crazy damage mode, brandishing domineering power to rush up, smashing this terrifying lightning dragon with one punch. This lightning dragon was very powerful. It had the power of an early or middle level heavenly venerable. But what meaning did this have to him? As long as it wasn't an upper level heavenly venerable attack, it was meaningless to him. He could smash it with one punch. Following that, the second heaven tribulation arrived as scheduled, quickly descending tribulation fire. The power of this tribulation fire rapidly changed to an extremely domineering divine fire. Its power instantly rose to the middle or late level of a lower level heavenly venerable, its power increasing once again. But the result didn't change, it was still smashed with one punch. Following that, the difficulty kept increasing layer by layer, first to the late level of a lower level heavenly venerable, then to the early level of a middle level heavenly venerable. This power made the many lower level heavenly venerables feel somewhat fearful. If they were to block it, they wouldn't be able to block it, yet a divine lord could actually block it. This made them even crazier. How could a 10 refinement Earth Lord have such shocking performance? Little did they know that it was all a misunderstanding. How could a 10 refinement Earth Lord have such shocking power? It was all the credit of crazy mode. But even without crazy mode, if one wanted to pass this heaven tribulation, they had to use a powerful bloodline or something like that. Not only did they need a powerful bloodline, but they also needed powerful armor and weapons, and even more shocking martial art. Actually, to put it bluntly, everything had to be at a heaven-defying level, otherwise they could forget about passing. This was the heavens making things difficult. They didn't want a genius with a 10 refinement Earth Lord foundation to break through to heavenly venerable. Chapter 1501. When the outside world thought that the 10 refinements Earth Lord was so heaven-defying, only Yi Tianyun knew that the real situation was not like this. It was because the difficulty was too high that no cultivator succeeded. The conditions were too harsh. Ordinary strength could not break through at all. Breaking through to Divine Lord was already a big deal, let alone breaking through to Heavenly Venerable. The power is getting stronger and stronger. If this continues, I will probably have to withstand the attack of an upper Heavenly Venerable in the end. Yi Tianyun felt an extremely strong pressure coming from above. Now that he had reached the 7th level, his attack was already comparable to a middle or late stage Heavenly Venerable. If this continued, the final attack would probably reach the early stage of an upper Heavenly Venerable, the strongest attack. Under such circumstances, how could an ordinary cultivator resist? They would definitely need to suppress their cultivation for a long time before they could break through. Everything had to be the best. Otherwise, how could they resist? Moreover, they were constantly being attacked and could not take the initiative to attack. They could only choose to defend. Yi Tianyun had crazy mode, so he could take the initiative to attack. Otherwise, he would also be beaten up. Soon, the heavenly tribulation reached the 10th level. Sure enough, the power had increased to the early stage of an upper Heavenly Venerable. The wind and clouds changed, the void shattered, and the nearby shattered space changed drastically because of this. Everyone was dumbfounded. How was this still a tribulation? It was simply being hung up and beaten. It looked like they could not believe that this was a Divine Lord level tribulation. After all, if they were to resist it, they might not be able to resist it. This time, their hearts trembled. Was the 10 refinements Earth Lord too heaven-defying, or was the cultivator transcending the tribulation too heaven-defying? Can this guy still succeed? Who could withstand such a terrifying power? Yeah, this feeling is already comparable to an upper heavenly venerable's attack. Even if it's just one move, it's heaven-defying. Too terrifying. The previous attack was already terrifying enough. The final attack is simply fatal. The surrounding cultivators were scared silly. If it was such a difficult level, who could break through in the future? If it was an heavenly venerable, they might be able to resist it, but what about a divine lord? The attack that seemed unbelievable to them was so ordinary in Yi Tianyun's eyes. How many upper heavenly venerables did he face? In the end, under his all-out attack, the terrifying 10th level of the heavenly tribulation was destroyed just like that. Following that, the energy gathered by the 10 heavenly tribulations rapidly flowed down from the sky, surging into Yi Tianyun's body. It began to strengthen his body at a crazy rate. Everything was so easy. This was all thanks to his strong foundation. Otherwise, it would have been more strenuous. You succeeded. Everyone was stunned once again. Some people thought that it was impossible to pass, but it was passed just like that. It was impossible for a divine lord to transcend the tribulation, right? That's impossible. He's definitely not a divine lord, but a heavenly venerable. He really succeeded. Unbelievable. This trip was really worth it. But as for which force they belong to, or whether they are male or female, I must see their true appearance. They all went crazy. The heavenly tribulation that seemed so powerful had passed just like that. It made it difficult for them to calm down for a long time. But Empyrean Sword Sai and the rest smiled and said, I knew that little junior brother can definitely pass through the heavenly tribulation. Speaking of which, the difficulty is really too great. If it were me, I would have died without leaving a single piece of me behind. Not to mention you, even I can't withstand it. They shook their heads. When they were at the peak Divine Lord level, it was already not bad to be able to fight with lower-level heavenly venerables. As for facing this terrifying power, they really would have been blasted into nothingness. However, the heavenly tribulation of a 10 refinements Earthlord is at least a dozen times harder than a 9 refinements Earthlord. The last time I saw a heavenly venerable tribulation of a 9 refinements Earthlord, its power was at most lower-level heavenly venerable middle stage or late stage. It was much weaker than this. Heavenly Venerable Li Tian recalled what he had seen previously. It was not rare to see a divine lord with a 9 refinements Earthlord foundation break through here, but it was also not common. From time to time, they would see it. The difficulty was not low, but it was still far from Yi Tianyun's. Those who could successfully break through to Heavenly Venerable with a 9 refinements Earthlord foundation were all super geniuses of their generation. They would all be elders in the future. As they were all sighing, Yi Tianyun continuously absorbed the surrounding energy to transform his body. He could clearly feel that his power was rapidly transforming. The star power in his body began to gradually transform into Heavenly Venerable power, a brand new energy system. Only with Heavenly Venerable power could one unleash the power of Heavenly Venerable Spirit Treasure. After a period of time, the transformation was finally complete, and he also broke through to the lower Heavenly Venerate level. Finally broke through, Yi Tianyun took a deep breath. He felt that his strength had increased a lot. Especially when he felt that all the Heavenly Venerables were a pile of garbage in front of him. Ding! Successfully completed the special level-up mission, Breakthrough to a Higher Realm. After condensing the 5th planet, obtained 10,000 compression crazy point and 5,000 compression proficiency. Also obtained the title Super Heavenly Venerable. Super Heavenly Venerable has a suppressive effect when facing Heavenly Venerable level opponents, can weaken the opponent's combat effectiveness, and at the same time, increase your combat effectiveness by 10 times. Only effective when facing Heavenly Venerable, this title is not much different from the previous titles like Earthlord. It can weaken the opponent's combat effectiveness and increase his combat effectiveness. To him, this was already quite useful. Unfortunately, it is useless against heavenly gods. If it was useful, the effect would be amazing. Now with this title, at least in the Heavenly Venerable level, it can be said that he can walk sideways. Ding! Successfully accepted the special leveling up mission, Breakthrough to a Higher Realm. After condensing the 10th planet, Obtained 1 million compression crazy point and 1 million compression proficiency. Also obtained the title Super Heavenly God. You can directly break through to Heavenly God without completing it, but there is no reward. This task has just ended, and immediately a new advancement task popped up. The reward obtained is slightly stronger, but generally there is no change. It's become 10 planets again. This is quite difficult. Now there are only 7 planets, and I need to get 3 more. Yi Tianyun saw this condition and felt that it is still quite difficult. But 1 planet is basically set, that is the dark planet, but what about the other 2? Now that I have broken through to Heavenly Venerable, there should be no problem passing the trial of light and dark, right? Chapter 1502. After breaking through to Empyrean, it meant that one could use Empyrean spirit treasures or condense Empyrean spirit treasures. This was a rather cautious thing. After all, one could only condense 1 at each stage. There were really no more. It meant that if it was lost, it would all be gone. If one wanted to condense again, they would need to wait for the next stage. The effects of each stage were different. Fortunately, if it was damaged, it could be slowly nurtured and repaired. It could basically be used all the time. Overall, it was still very good. It belonged to a kind of economical and practical lifeblood treasure. It could be strong or weak. Those with few resources, the Empyrean spirit treasure would naturally be a little weaker. Those with many resources, fiercely smashing down, then the result would be a very powerful Empyrean spirit treasure. The advantage was that one did not need to seek help from others and could condense it himself. Unlike in the past, one had to go find an artificer or something to refine a treasure. Now, it was custom-made by oneself, but the quality was up to oneself. Condensing Empyrean spirit treasure, the first Empyrean spirit treasure, just what kind of treasure is needed? Defensive or offensive? Yi Tianyun thought about it. He really did not have any goals. After all, he had never thought about this all along. This did not give him too much time to think. Some had always been thinking about what kind of Empyrean spirit treasure to condense when they were at peak Divine Lord. Yi Tianyun rushed all the way up and unknowingly broke through to Empyrean. Hence, he naturally did not have good ideas. Forget it, I'll think about it when I'm free. I'll go back first and talk. Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and he returned to the great hall from before. This time, Empyrean Phoenix Autumn already woke up and was meditating to recover by the side. Little junior brother, really congratulations, you broke through to Empyrean. Breaking through to Empyrean is nothing, the main thing is the foundation of 10 refinements Earthlord. This is really miraculous. In other words, it's absolutely a unique existence in all of eternity, but this matter absolutely can't be spread out. Otherwise, it will attract a fatal disaster. All along, no one has broken through to 10 refinements Earthlord, but little junior brother could succeed. If this method spreads out, it will definitely drive people crazy. Each and every one of them reminded Yi Tianyun not to spread the method, in case it caused a dispute. Hearing their concern, Yi Tianyun's heart warmed. He smiled and said, actually, there's nothing about this method that can't be spread. It all depends on my mood. It should be said that there have been people who tried it before, but it was too difficult. They didn't have the ability to succeed, and as time passed, they failed. All of them were stunned, not knowing what Yi Tianyun meant. At this moment, Yi Tianyun stretched out 2 fingers and said with a faint smile, it's easy to break through to the 10th refinement Earth Monarch. Just condense 2 planets in your body and you'll be able to break through. He didn't mind revealing it at all. He had broken through a long time ago, and this kind of thing wasn't a big secret. Even if someone cultivated to the 10th refinement of the Earth Monarch realm, what did that have to do with him? Could it be that they could threaten him? He hid it because he didn't want to be captured for research. Right now, he didn't dare to casually expose it, but in front of his senior brothers, what harm was there in saying it? What? All of them were stunned. Even Feng Qiu, who was at the side, jumped up in fright. She had just woken up and heard such news. It was just that she was embarrassed to wake up and talk, especially when talking about such a crucial topic. It was best to pretend that she was recovering and didn't hear anything. Now that she heard such a heavyweight news, she was completely stunned. Little junior brother, you aren't joking, right? Even heavenly venerable sword Sai stuttered. Condensing 2 planets, this kind of situation isn't a problem. Normally, condensing a second planet or something like that, one has to be at the Divine Lord level and above before they dare to do it. If it's Earth Monarch condensing, it's basically a level of 9 deaths and 1 life. That's right, it's a level of 9 deaths and 1 life. So basically no one can succeed. As time passed, no one dared to try anymore. The result is that simple. Is it too out of your expectations? Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This method had been tried a long time ago. It was just that it had been tried too many times and experienced too many failures, so no one dared to try anymore. Maybe some people succeeded, but later on, due to breaking through to the Divine Lord level or something, they naturally were completely ignored. This is really too out of our expectations. I thought it was some martial art or some spirit pill to break through. So it's this kind of forbidden method. They were all shocked. Normally, they called it a forbidden method. That was, before becoming a Divine Lord, one mustn't casually condense a second planet. Of course, condensing a second planet in the later stages was not easy. It had to be in line with one's physique. Otherwise, one's body would definitely explode. That's right, it's this kind of forbidden method. Probably no one would believe it if I told them, right? Yi Tianyun said with a smile, but the result is like this. As long as the second planet is condensed, one can successfully break through to the 10th refinement Earth Monarch. Everything is that simple. Yi Tianyun's smile was so terrifying in their eyes. If this was simple, the 10th refinement Earth Monarchs would have long been everywhere. They shook their heads and smiled bitterly. So what if they knew now? It was something that had 9 deaths and 1 life. It could even be said that 10 deaths and 1 life were certain. But no one would believe it if I told them. They would definitely think that you used some other method. It seems like we can't publicize it in the end. You are the real master. After Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai and the others knew the truth, they almost cried. This method was really terrifying. It wasn't easy to nurture a 9th refinement Earth Monarch. Whether it was the outer or inner deity realms, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to reach the 9th refinement Earth Monarch. If one died just like that when breaking through to the 10th refinement Earth Monarch, everything would be in vain. Therefore, it still depended on one's resources. If one's resources were heaven-defying, they could still play around. Otherwise, the few 9th refinement Earth Monarchs that they had painstakingly nurtured would all die because of condensing a second planet. That kind of feeling could be imagined. It was better to just have a 9th refinement Earth Monarch. After all, a 9th refinement Earth Monarch was already very strong. Breaking through to the Heavenly Venerable level was considered a relatively strong type. I didn't intend to publicize it in the first place. I just wanted to tell senior brothers so that they wouldn't say that I'm hiding my abilities, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. Our little junior brother is still the most generous. He said it casually. It's just that the truth is a little terrifying. They laughed loudly. If it was them, they might really give it a try. Different situations would naturally make different choices. For example, if they were alone at that time, then they would just die. As for now, that was the entire sect's matter. The death of a 9th refinement Earth Monarch was a huge loss. They definitely couldn't try this method casually. Chapter 1503. They, who knew the truth, did not know whether to laugh or cry. The difficulty of 10 refining Earth Monarch was unattainable. So they already knew how to break through, it was just that they had tried too many times and failed too many times, causing people to lose hope in 10 refining Earth Monarchs. Yi Tianyun had broken through to 10 refining Earth Monarch under conditions that were impossible in the past. What could they say? But if word got out, if people believed it, there would definitely be many who would risk their lives for this 10 refining Earth Monarch, and at that time, it would cause a bunch of cultivators to die. After all, there were still many who were not afraid of death, and even more who felt that they were extraordinary, and felt that they could break through successfully. Needless to say, there would definitely be many who died. There were so many cultivators, and there were even more who thought that they were extraordinary, so if they really believed it, they would definitely try. Because the difficulty was too high, If word got out, the number of deaths would definitely rise. As time passed, if there was no one who succeeded, his words would definitely be questioned, and they would think that he was a liar. At that time, he would be besieged. It would truly be a thankless task. In any case, Yi Tianyun did not have that kind of fearless spirit, that kind of dedication. He did not have it at all. What others did, as long as his friends and family believed it, it was fine. Venerable Feng Qiu, looks like you have already woken up. Yi Tianyun looked at the dumbstruck Venerable Feng Qiu, and sized her up. Although her aura was still weak, her overall situation was still good, and she only needed to recover for a period of time to completely recover. But this time was definitely calculated in terms of years, and this kind of eruption would consume a lot of energy, and it was not something that could be easily recovered. Even using medicinal pills would not work. Yes. I just woke up. Venerable Feng Qiu laughed awkwardly. She had heard Yi Tianyun's words, but still felt rather awkward. Don't worry about anything, I won't blame you. This is not a secret. Condense 2 planets, and successfully break through to 10 refining Earth monarch. Yi Tianyun repeated to her. This is really too inconceivable. You have broken the biggest scam in history. I had also thought of 10 refining Earth monarch before, but every time I mentioned it, I would be rejected. Everyone said that there wouldn't be a 10th refinement Earth monarch, and at most a 9th refinement Earth monarch. They told me to give up. Feng Qiuzun shook her head and said, I didn't expect this to be a scam, it's just that I don't have the ability, and thus I was thought to be at the level of failure. A scam, huh? Yi Tianyun rubbed his nose. He had to admit that the difficulty of the 10 refinements Earth monarch was indeed very high. It could even be said to be abnormally difficult. If he wasn't good in all aspects, he wouldn't have been able to succeed. You could call it a scam, but you could also call it not a scam. Those who said these words could only say that they were thinking for the sake of their descendants and didn't want to send them to their deaths. But this matter, I will keep this secret for Lord Heavenly Cloud. No, I am already Heavenly Sovereign Heavenly Cloud, I will keep it a secret for you. Venerable Feng Qiu was also aware of the problem. It was better not to publicize this matter. Then I'll have to thank Supreme Feng Qiu. Yi Tianyun actually didn't mind. Even if someone publicized it, he would just say it. As for whether or not someone would come to capture him, it would depend on whether he had the ability. He thought for a moment, then added, speaking of which, our gains this time are not bad. We've taken all the treasures in the shrine. Venerable Feng Qiu doesn't have any objections, right? No objections. I've already said it before, I only want the shrine and the golden tree. You can take the rest. You guys have contributed a lot. Without you guys, I wouldn't have succeeded. Venerable Feng Qiu smiled lightly. So what should be yours, is still yours. I just want to keep it as a memento. The rest has nothing to do with me. She wanted the shrine to come down because she wanted to get her uncle's relics. Treasures and what not were just external things. What she truly had feelings for was still the venerable dragon shrine. Then we won't be courteous. Yi Tianyun smiled. Speaking of which, is Supreme Feng Qiu willing to join my force? Look at our cooperation this time. Next time, if there's any ancient ruins, I can bring you along. In the end, Supreme Feng Qiu did not join. It was just that Yi Tianyun saw an opportunity to rope her in, and chose to reject. After rejecting, it was about time to leave. This place had already been plundered, and there was nothing left to be reluctant to leave. Yi Tianyun did not have any thoughts of changing his mind. He said that he would hand over control to her. When he handed over control to her, Supreme Feng Qiu was slightly touched. If it was anyone else, they might not be willing to hand it over. Although the treasures here have been plundered, the shrine's value is still very high. Supreme Feng Qiu's words were not wrong. As long as Yi Tianyun did not want to hand it over, Supreme Feng Qiu could not do anything about it. But correspondingly, Yi Tianyun could only hide here. If he went out and was discovered, the result would be obvious. I am very trustworthy. Whatever I said before, it is what it is. Yi Tianyun smiled. If possible, it would be best if you could join my force. Supreme Feng Qiu, regarding my matter, what plans do you have? Yi Tianyun looked at her solemnly. Supreme Feng Qiu was silent for a while before saying, I will not tell anyone about your matter, but I will spread the cultivation method. Spread it. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Supreme Feng Qiu, I advise you not to do that. You just have to say that someone is hiding in a corner undergoing tribulation. It has nothing to do with you. Sometimes, no one will believe you when you tell the truth. But this is a situation that can change the divine realm, Supreme Feng Qiu said with a burning gaze. No, most of the time, it will only change your own situation. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Everything depends on your own choice. Everyone has their own choice. Why do you say that? Feng Qiuzun frowned and said, this is a great discovery, just like how our ancestors spread out all sorts of cultivation levels, and all sorts of methods to break through, it is the same logic. If it is spread, it is equivalent to benefiting the entire divine realm. Benefiting the divine realm. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently, but there are many people who are too stupid, too incompetent. The result is that those who know the truth will be completely drowned. What do you mean? Supreme Feng Qiu did not understand what Yi Tianyun meant. She only knew that if she said it, it would be equivalent to solving an unsolved mystery. Many people would think, why was there a 9 refinements Earth monarch, but not a 10 refinements Earth monarch? Being surrounded by this mystery, now that it was solved, how could it not be a shocking matter in the divine realm? Nothing much, you will know very soon. Chapter 1504. After Yi Tianyun and the rest left, Feng Qiuzun rested for a moment before flying out of the Dragon Sovereign Temple. The gate is open, the gate is open. At this moment, the cultivators waiting outside shivered. They all stared at the door, wondering who would come out. Who could have taken over the dragon-revered temple? Feng Qiuzun walked out, and when her figure entered everyone's eyes, they were all shocked. Supreme Feng Qiu? They were all stunned. They did not expect that the one who occupied the Dragon Sovereign Shrine was actually Feng Qiuzun. The Dragon Sovereign Shrine belongs to me now. Everyone, please leave. After a period of time, the other cultivation grounds of the Dragon Sovereign Shrine will be opened for everyone to cultivate. I welcome all fellow Taoists to come. Venerable Feng Qiu maintained her smile, still filled with friendliness. After everyone heard this, they looked at each other and laughed. So it was Venerable Feng Qiu who took it, then we can rest easy. Feng Qiuzun's strength is not bad, it's not surprising that she could occupy the Dragon Sovereign Shrine. This is great. This way, I can come here to cultivate in the future. The Dragon Sovereign Shrine is quite famous. All of them laughed. Feng Qiuzun had always been so generous, as long as she could provide it, she would provide it. That was why she was so popular. At the same time, some people thought that she was a fool and an idiot. If he gave away everything, what about himself? No one knew what Feng Qiuzun's goal was. They all chose to hand over all sorts of benefits. How could they not be treated as fools and idiots? Rogue cultivators would not think so, but the leaders of some forces would think that Feng Qiuzun was a fool, handing over everything for nothing. As for those itinerant cultivators, they would definitely help her, but in the end, they could not be considered as their own forces. However, she had done so. She did not know what her true goal was. Everything was a mystery. Even so, there were still many people who wanted to rope in Feng Qiuzun. After all, Feng Qiuzun had high prestige, her talent was shocking, and she was a woman. This caused Feng Qiuzun's status to skyrocket. If someone were to marry her, they would fly to the heavens. The powerful domain of the gods had sent their disciples to chase after Venerable Feng Qiu, and Empyrean Wo Xing and the others had done the same. If the conditions allowed, he could pay a certain price to pursue Feng Qiuzun. If they could tie the knot, their future descendants would definitely be heaven-defying, and it would bring them even more prestige. Many rogue cultivators might have joined because of this. It could be said that Feng Qiu was superior to thousands of soldiers and horses. With a single call, hundreds would respond. There was a possibility that some wandering cultivators would come over because of this. Venerable Feng Qiu, I have a question for you, please answer it. At this time, a few heavenly gods flew over with serious expressions. I wonder if Lord Heavenly Gods have any questions? Venerable Feng Qiu said with an indifferent expression. I believe in Venerable Feng Qiu. Did you see the heavenly tribulation just now? That was the Empyrean tribulation of the 10th refinement Earth monarch. This person broke through in this temple. Do you know who that cultivator is? Several Empyrean gods, as well as many Empyrean venerables at the side, stared straight at him. They were not rogue cultivators, but people from various forces. They all had one goal, and that was to capture this person. Even if they couldn't capture him, they had to force him to tell them what the method was. I am very sorry, I cannot tell you anything about this person, but there is one thing I can say, and that is the cultivation method. Venerable Feng Qiu knew that they would definitely ask this question. If it was anyone else, they would have to deal with this question. Unless they abandoned this temple, as the owner of this place, they would definitely have to come out and answer this question. The cultivation method, what exactly is it? They all came over, their eyes shooting out bright light. Very simple, it is to condense 2 planets, to meet the conditions to break through to the 10th refinement Earth monarch. Venerable Feng Qiu answered truthfully. She said that she would not say Yi Tianyun's name, but she would still say the method. She weighed the pros and cons, and still decided to say it, in order to restore the truth, to restore a scam. Back then, she was filled with anticipation towards the 10th refinement Earth monarch, but every time she wanted to cultivate, she would be denied. As time passed, she no longer had this kind of adventurous spirit. Now, she felt that there was a need to open a new era. When these words came out, everyone was stunned, and looked at her as if she was an idiot. This was simply a joke. Who would believe this bullshit? All along, it had been proven to be fake. There was simply no one within the Earth monarch realm who could successfully condense 2 planets. Venerable Feng Qiu, I hope that you do not speak lies. This has long been proven to be impossible. The result of forcefully doing this is death. Are you trying to bring disaster to the entire deity realm? One of the deities had an ugly expression. He was the first to not believe Venerable Feng Qiu's words. That's right, is Venerable Feng Qiu joking? Or is that friend of yours speaking nonsense? This is impossible, no one has ever succeeded since the ancient times. The eyes of the deities were filled with rage. If not for Venerable Feng Qiu, they would have already grabbed him and beaten him up. This kind of thing that had already been decided, if it was said that it could succeed, who would believe it? I never speak nonsense, this is the truth. That friend of mine will also not lie to me. Venerable Feng Qiu believed that Yi Tianyun would not lie to her. Moreover, she had also thought that this was a feasible method. Won't lie to you? The deities laughed coldly. What proof do you have? How can you prove that this method is feasible? Maybe that friend of yours is actually lying to you. Venerable Feng Qiu looked at him coldly and said, whether you believe me or not, that is up to you. I have already told you the cultivation method. I ask Venerable Feng Qiu to tell me the whereabouts of that friend of yours. This matter cannot be careless. This is for the benefit of the entire deity realm. Yes, as long as we can grasp the true cultivation method, it can allow the cultivator's cultivation to break through by a large margin. This is a great discovery. It is the benefit of the entire deity realm. If you don't say it, then you are going against the entire deity realm. All of the deities were overbearing, including the Empyreans at the side. They were all filled with doubt towards her. They did not believe Venerable Feng Qiu's words. Unless they captured Yi Tianyun and frantically searched his soul at the same time, they would not believe it. That's right, maybe Venerable Feng Qiu, you know the method, you are just fooling us. You are too selfish. You are not thinking about the deity realm at all. Too selfish, and you want to frame us. We have really misjudged you. At this time, many Empyreans and divine monarchs at the side started to scold. These rogue cultivators actually started to scold Venerable Feng Qiu. I am selfish. Venerable Feng Qiu was so angry that she was trembling. She did not think that her selfless dedication would actually be scolded as selfish. And she was speaking the truth, it was not a lie. But what did she get in return? There was only a round of abuse. Little junior brother, this is the reason why you are not leaving? Something like that. I knew this would happen. A bunch of cultivators who know nothing but *T. They keep saying that they're doing this for the benefit of the whole. If this wasn't the method, but some other secret method, they definitely wouldn't reveal it. All of them look dignified, but their hearts are incomparably dirty. Chapter 1505. Yi Tianyun had long expected that revered Phoenix Autumn would fall into such a situation. It could even be said that it was a definite time. Even if he appeared and said it, it would be useless. If he did not search his soul, who would believe his words? But would he search someone's soul? This was simply the ravings of a lunatic. As for benefiting the realm of the gods, there was no need to talk about such rubbish. He did not have such a selfless spirit. So what if he was scolded for being selfish? If he had the ability, he could go and research it himself. A bunch of weaklings wanted to come over and ask for all kinds of benefits. Why? Then, should we go out now? Heavenly Venerable Sword Sai couldn't bear to see her like this. I can see that she has suffered a huge blow. All along, Feng Qiuzun had been extremely generous, and was willing to give anything. Now that he's been scolded for being selfish, he must have suffered a huge blow. Those pieces of trash. It's just a guy who was bribed, purposely stirring things up, in order to make Feng Qiuzun betray me. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Let's see the situation first. Let me see what Feng Qiuzun will do. He narrowed his eyes as he looked at Empyrean Feng Qiu. Although he had been trying to rope in Empyrean Feng Qiu, but now, he wanted to see if Empyrean Feng Qiu was the kind of person he approved of. Even if Venerable Feng Qiu had agreed to join his forces, she had to go through a certain test. If he couldn't pass the test, he still didn't want it. What he wanted was absolute loyalty, and one that would not betray him. Although they had rejected him time and time again, who knew if they might join in the future? It should be said that Yi Tianyun had the confidence to pull Feng Qiuzun over. Now was the testing period to see how she performed. They hid and watched, while Feng Qiuzun's face turned white and green, being scolded for being selfish. It really hurt her. I swear on my honor that I'm not lying. This is the method to break through to the 10th refinement of the Earth Monarch. If everyone doesn't believe me, then it has nothing to do with me. I, Feng Qiu, have never lied. At the same time, I believed in my friend's words. Since he said so, then it was true. I will never doubt my friend's words. This is the basic rule. You can call me stupid, you can call me an idiot. Behind my back, I know how many times you've scolded me, but that's not important. What's important is that I'm willing to pay for it. Whether you believe it or not, this is the truth. At the same time, I will never betray my friends. This has always been my standard. Venerable Feng Qiu's voice was sonorous and forceful, heavily striking back at these Empyreans and gods. Whether they believed it or not, that was their business, it had nothing to do with her. He was already being kind by saying it out loud. That's right, Venerable Feng Qiu has always been contributing. How could she possibly lie? Exactly. Who did not know of Feng Qiuzun's heart? How could he lie? Bullshit. What selfish? Whoever says Feng Qiuzun is selfish, I, your father, will fight with them. All of them stood up to speak for Venerable Feng Qiu. They were all true rogue cultivators, and not those hired previously. As for how he could tell, Yi Tianyun could tell with his appraisal eye. Some of them weren't rogue cultivators at all, but disciples of some great power. How could they tell him they were rogue cultivators? One by one, they came out to support her, which was enough to prove how high her prestige was. There were many experts who supported her. There were more than 10 Empyreans in front of them, and there were even more divine monarchs. Some of them had never received Venerable Feng Qiu's kindness, but they had all heard of Venerable Feng Qiu's actions, and approved of her actions. Thus, they couldn't help but stand up for her. This immediately caused a commotion, but the expressions of the few gods did not look good. They did not wish for this to happen. Venerable Feng Qiu, I did not say that you are lying, but that does not mean that your friend will not lie. This is regarding the new developments in the god domain. We cannot be careless. Yes, as long as you find your friend, we will definitely not make things difficult for him. Tell us the correct method, or let us do a simple soul search to prove it. Believe in Venerable Feng Qiu, you should know what the value of this is. As long as you prove what the correct method is, we will compensate your friend properly. All of the gods were still trying to persuade her. No matter what, they did not believe such an answer. It had always been proven wrong. How could they still feel that it was true? If they did not see it with their own eyes, they would never believe it. I still have the same answer as before, I believe in my friend, and the second point is that I will not tell anyone about my friend. Venerable Feng Qiu said coldly, that's about it, do as you wish. With that, she planned to leave, but at this time, one of the gods intercepted her, blocking in front of her. Venerable Feng Qiu, this is no small matter. This is no longer your own matter, but the entire god domain's matter, even the 5th grade god domain's matter. This god's tone was sharp, even the 5th grade god domain was brought up, it could be imagined how serious it was. Sorry, I have my own principles, I have already answered what should be answered, whether you believe me or not is up to you. Venerable Feng Qiu said coldly. Just as she was about to go around this god and leave, an ear-piercing voice suddenly came from behind. Pretending to be a holy maiden, pretending to know what morality is, don't think that no one in the world knows. The master of this dragon sovereign shrine is actually your uncle. Otherwise, you would not have obtained it so easily. As for your parents, very few people know about them, but there are still people who know. Your parents are killing maniacs, and are also one of the murderers of the God Domain War. Who knows how many geniuses they killed, and also indiscriminately killed innocent people. Their hands are all stained with blood, although you have not experienced it, but you also have their bloodline. I don't know how many cultivators have been destroyed by your meddling. This is the truth, and you are the descendant of those demons. You have always used your own abilities to save this world. In reality, you want to make up for your own mistakes. But can you make up for it? Who knows how many people have died? Can you make it up to them? Be sensible, hand over that so-called friend of yours, this way you can do something of boundless virtue, and make up for your parents' mistakes. The one who spoke at the side was an old god, his eyes filled with ridicule, and even more so, disdain. It was very obvious that he was an old god, and knew a little more. Venerable Feng Qiu's body shook, she actually froze on the spot, and then her entire body started to tremble. Yi Tianyun, who was hiding in the shadows, reached out to rub his chin, his eyes flickering. There's such a thing? If it's really like that, then her actions can be understood. Chapter 1506. The term demoness was rather harsh on the ears. I am not a demoness. Feng Qiu Zun retorted in a low voice, but her tone was weak, like a thief that had been caught, weak, but her head was lowered. If you are not a demoness, then what are you? Your parents are filled with blood, and you want to make up for their mistakes. Come to think of it, your father died back then, and your mother ran off somewhere, giving birth to you in the end. Logically speaking, you should be very old, how can you be so young? This old heavenly deity still couldn't figure it out. These ancient level existences, logically speaking, Feng Qiu Zun should be very old, how could she only be 1,000 years old? This was something that they could not understand. Normally, no one would link Venerable Feng Qiu's status to an ancient level Empyrean. The main reason was that the era was long ago, tens of thousands of years ago. Feng Qiu Zun was only 1,000 years old, how could she be linked to the era 10,000 years ago? So no one would suspect this, but in the end, it was still seen through. How it was seen through, no one knew. It could only be said that there was definitely someone behind this. I am not a demoness. I am just Feng Qiu Zun, an orphan. Feng Qiu Zun's eyes were red, she raised her head, tears already covering her beautiful face. In her eyes, there was sorrow and unwillingness, and even more humiliation. Without a doubt, their words were true, she also knew the truth. You are indeed an orphan, but at the same time, you are also a demoness. The old god laughed coldly. All right, no need to say more. What bullshit, holy maiden, all of this is bullshit. This is her true face, you all have seen it, right? What evidence do you have? Yes. What evidence do you have to prove that Feng Qiu Zun is the child of the demoness? If there is no evidence, then it is slander. Slandering people, and slandering Feng Qiu Zun, this is intolerable. If there is no evidence, we will be the first to deny it. There were still many rogue cultivators who chose to support Feng Qiu Zun. They did not believe that Feng Qiu Zun was a demoness. This was like pointing at a princess and calling her a thief. Evidence. The old god said disdainfully, I do not have evidence, whether it is true or not, won't we know by asking her? All this time, she's been doing good. Why do you think she's doing this? Be sensible and announce the real method. It's good for everyone. We won't pursue what your parents did in the past. After all, it was something that happened a long time ago and has nothing to do with you. But your parents did a lot of wrong things, and this can make up for their mistakes. Even though I can't make up for it completely, I can at least make up for the mistakes. This aged heavenly deity's eyes flickered with cold light. Even though he said this, he couldn't casually take action. No matter what, Heavenly Venerable Feng Qiu's status was rather high. It would not be a wise thing to provoke those rogue cultivators. If it was anyone else, without saying a word, they would capture Feng Qiuzun first. It could be imagined that Feng Qiuzun's position and prestige was not simple, and could even be said to be astonishing. Even some of the heavenly gods didn't dare to move recklessly. At this time, everyone's gazes turned to look, wanting to hear what Feng Qiuzun had to say. Feng Qiuzun had never lied, and she probably wouldn't lie this time. Feng Qiuzun was completely silent. She then raised her head and said, "My parents are indeed from the ancient generation, but I believe that my parents are definitely not demons, and are speaking nonsense." What a joke! If you say they aren't, then they aren't. If we find an old ancient heavenly venerable, he will definitely be able to testify. Coincidentally, in my faction, there are experts from that era, and he told me about these things. The aged heavenly god laughed coldly. "If you don't believe it, why are you doing good? Why didn't you choose to join other factions? All of this can be seen, you are just trying to make up for your mistakes. Otherwise, I don't believe it. What innately willing to do good, it's all bullshit. No need to struggle, the truth is the truth, you only know how to lie to yourself." This aged heavenly god was indeed a veteran. Every word seemed to be filled with thorns, and every word was filled with aggression. It wasn't the first time they heard these words, and when they repeated it again, everyone felt that it made some sense. They actually felt that the words of this heavenly god were somewhat trustworthy. All along, who would be so generous? If they didn't make a huge mistake, how could they be so generous, so selfless? Wasn't it to make up for their mistakes, to make themselves feel better? That's right, speaking of which, it really is so. I have also heard of this matter. Feng Qiuzun's parents might really be demons. Demons. These battles in the divine realm were caused by those demons back then. Just thinking about it makes me feel terrified. Many of them, including the rogue cultivators, really believed it for a moment. They felt that if it wasn't so, why would Feng Qiuzun be so generous? My parents are not demons, everything is fake, I don't believe it. Feng Qiuzun shouted, her body trembling, her eyes red. However, her words were not convincing at all. Fake? If it's fake, why did you choose to selflessly contribute? All kinds of good deeds, are they all fake? In your heart, you must also think that your parents are demons. This heavenly god was overbearing, as though he wanted to completely force Feng Qiuzun to death. All of them looked at her with strange gazes. If it was really like this, then Feng Qiuzun's good deeds had a purpose, it was to make up for her mistakes. If that was the case, then the hearts that supported her would sink. Words were a fearful thing, it was completely displayed here. In just a few words, he had completely sealed off Feng Qiuzun's previous actions, and threw her into the ditch like trash. No. My parents are not demons, they are not demons. If they are not demons, then take out the evidence. She has always been doing good deeds to make up for her mistakes, even she thinks so, what evidence do you need? Let me ask everyone, who would do good deeds for no reason, even an idiot would not do so. The heavenly venerables at the side shouted, echoing the words of the heavenly god. That's right, if you think about it carefully, it's all like this. This is equivalent to the child of a murderer. To make up for the mistakes of a murderer, what is there to be grateful for? Feng Qiuzun was immediately condemned by everyone, her reputation immediately became so unbearable. These old heavenly gods stared at her, wanting to see her crumble bit by bit, especially her Tao heart crumbling bit by bit. Obediently tell us about your companion, and we will not pursue this matter. At this time, the fox's tail was finally revealed, and his final goal was still this. Even if my parents are demons, I cannot go against my own morals, just give up on this thought. Her Tao heart did not collapse, and she still held on to her previous beliefs. Good. Then don't blame us, capture her. They hardened their hearts, and could only choose to use forceful methods. But this time, he had achieved his goal, and that was to first use words to attack, and let the surrounding rogue cultivators spread the news, then the other rogue cultivators would not attack them. At this time, several heavenly venerables at the side instantly exploded, turning into dust in the universe. Chapter 1507. Yi Tianyun did not choose to show his true face, it was to avoid trouble. He did not want so many people to remember his face. If he chose to be wanted like this, then all the divine domains would recognize him. It was better to avoid trouble. He had always been like this. Who are you? You dare to kill my people? The old god at the side, when he saw Yi Tianyun make a move, his expression instantly became extremely ugly. Yi Tianyun had killed a few of his powerful experts. How could his expression not be ugly? Kill your people? It seems like you still know that they are your people. Spreading lies to confuse people, and even letting your companions go along with you. What are your intentions? Yi Tianyun looked coldly at the old god. In my opinion, you are just slandering venerable Feng Qiu. Can't anyone be kind? You think that no one will be kind just because your heart is filthy? What a load of bullshit, saying so much nonsense. Isn't it just to force out the whereabouts of venerable Feng Qiu's friends? Saying so much pompous words, but in truth, you want to force out the cultivation method, so that you can increase your overall strength. This way of eating, it is truly ugly, disgusting. You even got your companions to pretend to be rogue cultivators to go along with your words. I believe everyone knows what you mean. Everyone looked at the old god, their gazes darkening. They had really thought that it was another rogue cultivator, but now it seemed that it was not a rogue cultivator, but someone sent by this god to go along with them. Heavenly God Wu Ming, I never thought that you were slandering venerable Feng Qiu. That's right, you are a great god, and you actually use such a despicable method. I believed you just now, but now it seems that Heavenly God Wu Ming is just spouting nonsense. They immediately believed Yi Tianyun, because Heavenly God Wu Ming had just admitted that the heavenly venerables in the crowd were from his faction. Because he was too angry, he had spilled the beans. Heavenly God Wu Ming did not expect that he would fall into a trap, and subconsciously scolded, causing the situation to tilt towards venerable Feng Qiu's side. Feng Qiu Zun looked up at Yi Tianyun. She had never seen Yi Tianyun before. Why would he help her? I did ask someone to say it, but what do you mean by that? I'm doing this for the future of the entire deity realm. I must obtain the 10 refinements Earth Monarch cultivation method. Wu Ming's anger surged, and his Empyrean deity power rapidly enveloped the surroundings. He had already regarded Yi Tianyun as a rogue cultivator who had killed several of his heavenly venerables. How could he let him off so easily? She has already said that the cultivation method is to condense 2 planets. Is there a problem? Yi Tianyun looked at Empyrean God Wu Ming with a calm look on his face. He wasn't worried about the Empyrean god power emanating from the surroundings. What a joke. Again with this kind of joke. However, this kind of joke isn't funny at all. Heavenly God Wu Ming said coldly, this has already been proven to be fake, and you're still treating it as the truth. Do you still believe her words? Why not? If you want to break through to the 10 refinements Earth Monarch, you need to condense 2 planets. It's that simple. Yi Tianyun said calmly, of course, if you want to succeed, you won't be able to do it without luck. The key is your own strength. What a joke. I don't know where you came from, but you're definitely going to die today. Empyrean God Wu Ming snorted coldly. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at the void. The Empyrean god power that had already surrounded him quickly turned into a huge palm and squeezed toward Yi Tianyun, wanting to crush him with one palm. In his opinion, Yi Tianyun's strength was only at the level of a lower-level heavenly venerate. He didn't need to use his full strength to crush his opponent easily. At this time, a vast power erupted from Yi Tianyun's body. Chains immediately appeared behind him, forming 10 chains in the void. This meant that his foundation was at the level of a 10 refinements Earth Monarch. Once this 10 refinements Earth Monarch appeared, it immediately had a suppressive power. It could slightly suppress all powerhouses who didn't have a foundation at the level of a 10 refinements Earth Monarch. It also had a suppressive effect on Empyrean God Wu Ming. Of course, this effect was already negligible, mainly because the difference in cultivation was too great. If their cultivation levels were similar, then this would have an effect. Even if one was already a heavenly venerate or a empyrean god, the foundation of a 10 refinements earth monarch was still there. This made the difference even more obvious. It could be said that one step ahead. Now, everyone was dumbfounded. The proof of a 10 refinements earth monarch was so close to them. This wasn't a legend. It had really happened. Those who were at the same cultivation level as Yi Tianyun immediately felt a great pressure, as if they were being suppressed by Yi Tianyun. It's really a 10 refinements earth monarch. My God, it really exists. I thought it was fake. This is too scary. It's possible to reach the level of a 10 refinements earth monarch. Many rushed over after hearing the commotion, but it was too late. By the time they arrived, Yi Tianyun had already completed his tribulation. Now that they saw it with their own eyes, they were completely stunned. Those who had seen it before were also shocked when they saw it again. This was too miraculous. Because I am her friend, and the only 10 refinements earth monarch. What I said is the truth. If there is any falsehood, may I be struck by lightning. Yi Tianyun immediately swore an oath in front of everyone to prove that his words were true. After making the oath, there was no lightning striking him, which meant that his words were not lies. Heavenly Venerate Skycloud. After Heavenly Venerate Feng Qiu saw this, her eyes turned red. Apart from Yi Tianyun, who else could have broken through to the level of a 10 refinements earth monarch? She didn't expect that she would still draw out Yi Tianyun. She felt very guilty in her heart. Before this, Yi Tianyun had already warned her that it was best to play dumb and say that she didn't know. Who knew that it would lead to so many things, and even cause Yi Tianyun to come out, messing up the original plan. Unbeknownst to her, Yi Tianyun had already expected this kind of thing, and would not disrupt any plans. It was just that it was good for Heavenly Venerate Feng Qiu to recognize reality, but she didn't expect that even some insider information would be drawn out. Now, I have already sworn an oath. The foundation is 2 planets. Only then can I successfully break through to the 10 refinements earth monarch. Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly and said. All of the heavenly gods shuddered and gathered around him. This friend, I wonder if you have joined any forces? They did not immediately act violently, but instead became excited. I have not joined any forces. Yi Tianyun lied. Not joined any forces? All of their eyes lit up. One of the heavenly gods stood out and said, Join our force, we will give you the best resources. No, as long as you want any resources, we will give them to you. No, join us. They will give you all the resources they have, but what resources can they have? Only then will we have more resources. We have more resources, and are ranked in the top 5 of the 4th grade god domain. All of the forces seemed to have gone crazy, continuously coming over to rope in Yi Tianyun. Even if he told them the method, they would still rope him in. Not only was his potential limitless, the main thing was the method. Chapter 1508. One faction after another rushed out to rope him in, each offer more tempting than the last. This was not like trying to rope in a heavenly venerable, it was more like trying to rope in a sky god, and a very powerful one at that. Under the frenzied roping, their faces were all revealed, and heavenly venerable Phoenix Autumn was completely ignored. It could be said that she was completely abandoned, and that Yi Tianyun was the focus. Our sacred peak celestial realm will also give all our resources. Heavenly God Wu Ming also offered an extremely high price, wanting to rope in Yi Tianyun. I'm sorry, even if I join other factions, I will not join your faction. Yi Tianyun pointed at Heavenly God Wu Ming and said coldly, Not only is your heart filthy, but you also slandered my friend. I will never join a faction like yours. Actually, most of them had heard of the sacred peak celestial realm. This guy was a sky god of the sacred peak celestial realm. How could he join the sacred peak celestial realm? Heavenly God Wu Ming's expression was ugly, and his heart sank. He wanted to fly into a rage, but he could not. He did not have a chance, but that did not mean that the other sky gods did not have a chance. Hence, if he made a move, the other sky gods would stop him and not let him make a move. Seeing a group of people trying to rope in Yi Tianyun so crazily, Heavenly Venerable Phoenix Autumn felt a little angry. These bastards, doing so much just for this cultivation method. So what if they knew the correct method? Where was the detailed cultivation method? This was like a heaven-defying martial art. They knew the effects and power of a heaven-defying martial art, but how to cultivate it? Over so many years, no one had succeeded, which meant that the method was very important. He might need to condense a planet of some attribute, or he might need to use some elixirs, or he might even need to use some martial arts to cultivate. After all, knowing a certain condition still required many basic conditions. If the basic conditions were not met, how could one succeed? Unbeknownst to them, there were not many prerequisites. One just needed to be strong enough and bold enough to succeed. Of course, one's constitution also had to be compatible. If the planet condensed was not compatible with one's elemental body, there was no way to succeed. Yi Tianyun won't say this out loud, because it's not necessary. Even his own faction doesn't necessarily recommend this method. Because he had experienced it himself, it was simply too difficult. If he tried it himself, the failure rate would be extremely high. Unless there was a cultivator that he fancied who fit the criteria, he might be able to give it a try. I'm sorry, but I don't have any thoughts of joining other forces either. Yi Tianyun said indifferently, because you're all jackals of the same tribe. There's no point in joining you. Especially when you think that my friend is trying to make up for his mistake. Don't slander me when you don't have any concrete evidence. What demonis? What devil? It was all nonsense. You even brought out the experts of the older generation. I even said that your father killed someone. Where's the evidence? Don't be so childish, you bunch of fools. That's something that happened in the previous era, and you're speaking as if you didn't do anything. I don't know how many innocent people you've killed and how many planets you've destroyed. And you're still talking to me about the devil? You're probably the devil yourself, okay? As for the War of the Gods, that's even more nonsense. When the War of the Divine Realms broke out in the Divine Realms, weren't the Sacred Peak Divine Realms and the Myriad Heaven Divine Realms the loudest? What a joke. All of you make it sound so noble, but who knows how many shameful things you've done in secret, and how much blood is on your hand. Even if Feng Qiu's parents did such a thing, at least she wasn't born at that time, so it had nothing to do with her. It's fine if she makes up for her mistakes now, or if she's being kind, at least she's truly helping others. What about you guys? What good things have you done? I feel that you haven't done any good things, but you've done a bunch of heinous things, right? Even if your father or your ancestors started hundreds of War of the Divine Realms, you probably wouldn't think of anything to make up for it. You want to find me now and force me to tell you the method? Do you really think I don't know? Yi Tianyun spat out a bunch of words, causing their faces to twitch. He was too arrogant. There were so many gods here, did he want to die? Even if he had the foundation of a 10 refinement Earth monarch, and was at a heaven-defying level among the sky sovereigns, he still had to kneel in front of a sky god. Feng Qiu covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Yi Tianyun had stood up to speak up for her. She actually didn't know if her parents had really done it before. Sometimes, she really wondered if her parents had done it before. That was why they didn't join any faction and just wanted to help the suffering. Sincerity was a big part of it. If they didn't have this kind heart, who would make up for it? If it were some black-hearted people, they wouldn't talk about making up for it. They would still eat with peace of mind. On the other hand, she couldn't do it. Her conscience was uneasy. Regardless of whether she had done it or not, she would choose to help others. Let's not talk nonsense with this brat. Everyone, capture him. The eyes of heavenly god Wu Ming and the others were red. All the sky gods were mobilized, including the other sky venerables. All the forces are trying to snatch Yi Tianyun's treasure. They want to capture Yi Tianyun. They originally wanted to use a soft approach, but who knew that Yi Tianyun wouldn't fall for it at all? Now, they could only use a hard approach. Facing a bunch of sky gods and sky venerables rushing over, the strongest were basically only at the lower sky god early stage. They didn't send 2 strong ones over. It should be said that lower sky gods were enough. As for middle sky gods, there was no need to participate in this kind of thing. It was just to capture and sky venerable. Was there a need to mobilize so many people? Some of the higher-ups couldn't even be bothered. Because they were no longer Earth monarchs. Even if they knew the method, it was meaningless. In the end, it was enough as long as they were strong. Everything else was up to them. The opportunity to earn experience is here. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. With a quick wave of his hand, 10 sky venerable spirit treasures suddenly floated to the side. It wasn't over yet. Following that, another 10 sky venerable spirit treasures bloomed in all directions. This time, there were 20 sky venerable spirit treasures, all stacked on the side. All of them were weapons. One person controlling 20 sky venerable spirit treasures meant that he had to kill at most 20 sky venerables. This way, he could obtain so many sky venerable spirit treasures. However, he did have a lot of sky venerable spirit treasures. When he killed many sky venerables, they would all drop piles of sky venerable spirit treasures. Now, he was going to throw everything out and prepare for a great battle to his heart's content. So many sky venerable spirit treasures. After they saw it, they were immediately startled. However, many people shook their heads, feeling that this was quite unwise. Because many sky venerable spirit treasures were condensed according to their own attributes or abilities. If they were used carelessly, they wouldn't display their power to the greatest. But was the truth really like this?